Ladies and gentlemen, hello. My name is Max Tompkins, and I cannot wait to show you guys today Season 4's playoffs. The quarterfinals were finally here. We've come so long in this season alone, and of course you just saw a little bit of a sneak peek for Season 5. But we do have some amazing casters to come with us in this journey today as well, and I can't wait to introduce them to you. It's going to be our friends Sticula and Jay's Wills. Hey guys, how's it going?
Oh, it is so glad to be here.
Oh, I cannot wait for this one. We have a beautiful matchup today as well to follow up with some amazing casters. And of course, you're not the only casters that we have today either, but for now, we get to see a beautiful setup here. Oh man, but with all that being said, these are the quarterfinals for Season 4, so anyone who wins here will be going on to the semifinals, and I'm sure you know how a tournament works. From the semifinals, you go to the grand finals from there. Guys, are you excited as I am?
Well,
What was that, Stick? Oh no. Jay's Wills, how are you doing? Are you excited?
I am so excited. I am absolutely stoked. I mean, these two teams, Pryde, PhrogChamp, I mean, it is going to be a fantastic quarterfinal to start off what is hopefully going to be a fantastic conclusion to Season 4. I mean, these playoffs are going to be out of this world, the best match we've seen so far, and I cannot wait to kick things off with this match today.
Absolutely. And if you're excited to see these playoffs as well, you can always go to scsesports.com to catch up with all of it. And if you haven't participated, either you or your teammate, it's never too late to apply for Season 5. But we'll get to that later, because right now we have some predictions for our casters. All of us here like to make predictions about what we can see in the season going forward, and everybody is saying that Pryde's probably going to take it home tonight. Stick, if you can hear us, if we're able to hear you now, are you going to be agreeing with this? Do you think PhrogChamp might have a chance? Are you going to agree with SJ? Or are you still sticking with your original plan? Oh, looks like we still can't hear him. That's okay. Jay's Wills, Pryde is across the board right now. Can somebody please help PhrogChamp?
I don't know. It's going to be a tough match. I think everyone saw what happened 11 days ago. These two teams met, and Pryde emerged victorious. That 2-0 overall victory for them. It wasn't decisive, but it sure sent a message. I think everyone looked at that and they said, I think the result for tonight is pretty clear. But of course, PhrogChamp is still in this fight, as SJ thinks. So I can't wait to actually see it unfold. But yes, I gotta go with Pryde here. They are the stronger team on paper and the stronger team in this matchup between these two rivals.
That's right. And we also have a bracket as well to look at in case, you have forgotten what happened 11 days ago. Let's see how we got to this journey so far. We do see Pryde versus PhrogChamp tonight, and whoever wins this matchup will be going up to face Team 99. Of course, from there, if we look down below, Wichita and Emergence have a similar boat, with Down to Earth not too far behind in the semis as well. But Jay's Wills, the grand finals, no one knows just yet.
Yeah, it's still left up in the air. I mean, of course, you can make those predictions. Team 99 and Down to Earth have looked so dominant this season, not to mention in these last few play days. I mean, Team 99, just a few days ago, absolutely steamrolled Pryde. So the winner of this matchup is going to have to face that semifinal beast. Team 99 is going to be waiting for them, prepping for that matchup. So they've got their work cut out for them, no less. But the focus of these two teams today definitely is on their mind, this particular match, and how they are going to get out of it. But you look at this overall playoff picture, it is going to be an absolute showdown. A lot of great teams all vying for that top spot, all vying for that final position in that grand finals.
Oh, but let's look at these teammates here. We see everybody across the board. Of course, on Pryde, you have your boys Oni, SVM, Dylan, Salt, Crafty, and you have on the other side Shipai, Trix, Mouse, Stole, and Miracle as well.
Definitely yeah, you've got. And, I mean, these are incredible teams, Keg. And, I mean, specifically, I've got to call out Salt and Crafty. I mean, these two players have been around in SCS for a long time. They're veterans for a reason, and they are quite good at what they do. Of course, their stats this season, as we're about to see, haven't been, what they're exactly looking to put up for their team, but that is the storyline we're going to see play out here tonight. It's going to be Salt and Crafty going for this all-out battle against PhrogChamp.
Ooh, are those your head-to-heads for tonight? Is that what you're really looking for?
Well, I'm looking for Salt and Crafty to put up some numbers. Of course, I know that everyone on that team really has, put up even more incredible numbers than those two specific players. But when you look at the storyline, when you look at the history of these teams, I definitely think those two players are going to make their presence felt. Definitely they have done before so on Twitter, but they're going to have to make their presence felt in the game itself. You look at the stats, and as I mentioned, Salt and Crafty, yes, they have not been that Pryde player. They have not been the level that Oni or SVM have put up, but they certainly have made their presence felt. You look at their cost, they are definitely here to play. And you look at a player like Dylan and Crafty, both of these support players, they're getting those plants down. Dylan, 20 plants on the ground. That is pretty incredible stuff, only to compare to Miracle on PhrogChamp's 15 plants.
Where I come from, we call him a gardener. You didn't have to laugh, it's okay. But no, all things considered though, Jay-Z, what should we expect to see most out of PhrogChamp here tonight? Everyone's predicting against them. Pryde seems to be the fan favorite here. They have a lot to live up to.
They do. And the reason that everyone is predicting Pryde, Keg, is because, well, this is a tough roster to counter, the Pryde side, but also this X-Redux team, now known as PhrogChamp, it's a little bit disjointed. Things haven't clicked for a while. This is kind of a makeshift roster that they've been trying to they're all looking for a team at this point. They're all really trying to get back into that T3 rhythm, and because of that, one would suspect that this team hasn't practiced together all that much. One would suspect that they are not as prepared in this match going forward, maybe because they don't think they can make a long run here, or maybe simply because they aren't quite as practiced. They haven't been scrimming as much. Maybe that's what's happening here, but regardless, they're going to come out here to prove themselves, but I think that everyone is going with Pryde, and for a good reason.
Oh, well, speaking of coming back, hello, Stick. Welcome back. I have an important question for you, though, bud.
For sure.
What can we see from the maps here tonight? We've seen a whole lot of crazy maps, but what is going to be the big three or the big two that we're going to see?
Well, I had a little bit of a sneak peek earlier, and we kind of talked between me and Jay-Z, because the maps that we've got on offer, some of them are pretty vanilla, not really going incredibly crazy. If you're looking at these maps, I think it's important to talk about the differences between the regular season map banning protocol and what we've got now as playoffs move into best of 3. You can see Oregon kicking us off. That's where the main focus of my vanilla comment has got to come from. But the second map, Consulate, definitely is a big difference from that, and I'm pretty happy to have this one come through. It seems that Pryde are confident in this pick, and I think it could sweep the rug out from under PhrogChamp.
Well,
Absolutely.
I mean, in terms of Consulate as well, I mean, I love to see Consulate in play because you don't always get to see it so often. Vanilla is right about Oregon and Cafe, but Consulate is the standout map. Some people say it's not the most interesting to watch, but if you don't watch it all that often, I think it can be pretty interesting, and that is, I think, what PhrogChamp are trying to bring out here. They're trying to really pull out all the stops against Pryde, a team who just 11 days ago beat them down here. So on Consulate, that's what they're going to be trying to do, bring out an unusual map that some teams often don't develop as deep of a strat book for. Sometimes they don't come as prepared, and so PhrogChamp is looking for every edge they can get, and I don't blame them.
I'm going to tell you guys right now, I don't like Consulate as a map, and we're going to be seeing that as the second one. We have to see that no matter what. But Consulate was chosen by PhrogChamp. Is that going to work in their favor, Stick?
It's hard to tell, but I like the way that Jay-Z talks about it, in that the map you don't really play it all too often, and because of that, you don't have such an established strat book on the map. I think that works big in the favor of Pryde and possibly leans into the reason behind why they picked it. I feel like kind of in the run-up to playoffs, obviously with Pryde's new pickups, they're going to look towards their map pool and figure out where are the weak spots, how do we improve that, and can we get a little bit of a sneak map coming into playoffs, something that you pull out, because in this first round, some teams, they've already got that semifinals bye. They're locked in at least through this first round. Pryde do not have that same opportunity and thus have got to prepare as much as possible. Consulate is a team or not a team, but a map where you've got to be on top of everything. The chemistry, coordination doesn't matter more really than Consulate, and I think it's a great one to have slotted in here as well. That also kind of applies to Oregon and Cafe, but especially so to this site map.
What do you think, Jay-Z?
Well, I mean, the Consulate point I already made, I think, still stands, and going to Cafe, going to that decider map, I think if we get to that point, this is going to be an incredible matchup. This is because it was an overtime round 14 victory for Pryde in this matchup just 11 days ago. It went the distance on Cafe. So if we get there, our decider map, I expect we're going to go the distance again, and I could not think of a better map to wrap it up. Of course, Cafe is often that decider map that comes out in all of these series, but it can be so exciting because it has its good share of strat, its good share of absolute fragability on the map, and so that is a perfect place to wrap up what I think is going to be an incredible series all around.
That's right, I think we're just about ready to get started for map number 1, but of course, if you're a team out there that hasn't joined SCS, well, first of all, what are you doing? You gotta join for Season 5. But second of all, if you want to know how you can join for Season 5, well, just look down below. You can go to scsesports.com, or you can even follow them on Twitter, DM them, all that other sorts of fun stuff, and maybe we can see you guys in a future quarterfinals. But until then, guys, I cannot wait to show you guys as well the new system for the open qualifiers that are going to happen in Season 5. It's going to be a Swiss system, which is going to be a very interesting one that we don't get to see too often here, but at the very least, it's an open qualifier. That means just about anybody can play.
Yeah, honestly, looking at the qualifier structure, it reminds me a lot about, I think it was Challenger League back under the ESL days, the way that they ran it, making teams play as many matches as possible. Looking according to this structure, through the first qualifier, you have 9 best of ones, so you get to play pretty much every opponent that you can, and what I think that does is bolsters the competition that you get in the close qualifiers and makes sure that you don't have any of those bracket bless situations where a team gets in just because they got the best RNG once it comes to the bracket generation. Of course, moving into the close qualifier, you've also got still that same mentality. Swiss system with best of ones, 3 per day across February 17th and 18th, as you can see. Season 5, you've got to be there, but I believe we just got word the match is almost ready, so we'll be hopping into that. We can discuss everything regarding the map bans, the op bans, where we'll be going, and the storyline of our first quarterfinal.
Well, Sticula, I am stoked to get this one going. It's unfortunate we have to say goodbye to Keg for now, but I'm sure he'll be having fun watching this match as it plays out, as we will as well. This is going to be an absolute heater. You start on Oregon, of course. This is one of those T3 staple maps. Everyone goes to Oregon. You've got to have very composed strats on this map. So both of these teams are going to be put to the test very early on. But the type of Oregon that we're going to see and the meta and how it's going to unfold, well, it all starts in our map bans, or operator bans rather. Thatcher off the board, that is no surprise. Everybody's strat lacks Thatcher because you know he is going to be banned every single time.
Yeah, Thatcher just gives the attackers way too much of a leg up, and on Oregon, it's all about who's got those advantages and how they play out over the course of the rounds. You've got that ace ban coming in second, so a big focus on removing hard breaching potential. The Wamai as the first defender ban makes a lot of sense. You don't see him all too often on Oregon in the new meta because of the advantage that he gives to the defender, so it's almost kind of an opposite situation in comparison to the Thatcher we saw taken out earlier, and finally rounding us out, we will have that Mira removed. So maybe the mirrors are going to be more of a focus here, something that the teams don't want to see, and so they're going to take her away quickly. I'm a really big fan of when you got that Thatcher ban in effect, but it also is important to talk about the effect it has on the efficiency of the offensive takes. You can't move so quickly, and with the ace band as well, your hard breaching is locked down to be a little bit more linear, to where we've got the Maverick in play, and he sees a whole lot of play here on Oregon.
Well, the Wamai being taken off, Sticula, I know you briefly mentioned it there, but you love to see those bans that really shake up the meta, or shake up that old style of play. I mean, just before the Neon Dawn patch, the season we all talked about, and the meta we all spoke about was, of course, utility consumption simulator meta. Okay? Now, without the Wamai, it will shake that meta up just a little bit. In addition to the change that we saw with the Jaeger ADSs, now infinite charges but a 10-second reset timer between each projectile, that will change up the way every team has to play on this basement site. It used to be deployable shield central. That's why you've got Miracle bringing those Vulcan shields. You've got Stole rocking the deployable shield on the smoke. You've got all of that utility to be brought, and you no longer have the Wamai to help solidify those positions. Of course, deployable shields remain a very important thing to conquer for any attacking team, but it will be made easier by the fact that the Wamai is off the table. This abasement site will now be just a little bit harder to defend, and if there's any type of siege that you love to see, Sticula, it is when attacking teams find success.
Well, we'll see Mal's up in the big tower. You saw him kind of looking around, hiding and looking through all of the corners and nooks and crannies of this room to find a drone that might have been watching him. But the one spot he didn't check is exactly where Crafty has just hidden the drone. And so if they know this, if they're aware Mouse is trying to peek out this window, that looks like a really early freebie, depending on how efficiency Crafty gets onto that drone and does spot him, and as well, if they even, you know, if the Mozzie sticks in that same spot. But there's a big focus currently on the main lobby area. We're not going to see that very traditional kind of bunker armory or armory focus take where you're all just bunkered up with your support, your utility, everything at the forefront to try and hold off the attackers for as long as possible. And it honestly seems like the right decision for Pryde at the current moment. You've got Goyle Vulcans. Those are no fun to clear. They're going to obstruct your path and waste a lot of time. And as well, you've got the Cade in play, so his Electro Claws are going to prevent you from opening up those big key walls. Potentially the first gunfight overall enveloping here at the backstage. Oni trying to push forward with a hot drone there ready, but it looks like Salt and Sam have found themselves a taker as Mao's Insider Freezer gets two early opening kills, defining the momentum of this map.
Momentum now in the hands of this defensive team. PhrogChamp looking to continue that. Mouse gonna toss a C4 on up, but nobody lurking by that freezer hatch. The E-box hatch instead is going to be the focus for Crafty now with that opened on up, but Pryde now lack the manpower and a lot of utility that was taken down by a brilliant double kill from the Mozzie very early on. Of course, you still have those 3 breaching charges that Oni is rocking on the Ash, but you've lost those frag grenades. You've lost the lifeline of the Zofia, and now it's going to have to be a pretty incredible freezer take if this round is going to have success. We see Dylan and Oni here working their way up in freezer, but Crafty trying to establish the laundry crossfire. He's going to get cut down on his way down the main stairs. Oni's going to find one to trade that one back eventually, dropping down the Mozzie, but Dylan, now taking quite a bit of damage, is lacking in terms of that response. Stole has been taken down, of course, the shots delivered, but Oni has now been forced to rotate around towards the laundry side and forced to pick up a kill. That's Chapai. That will no longer be a factor. Oni now hunting for more, but on 1 HP, and with Dylan now cut down, it's looking pretty tough for the Ash to clutch this out. You've got Tricks lurking behind this corner. Oni feels like they are aware of that push, but is just going to send it up into the long hallway. Miracle going to end that push, and PhrogChamp going to end that attack. Round 1 in their hands.
Really good way to kick this one off. You're battling back against Pryde. You're not giving them the early man advantage. I think PhrogChamp, the biggest thing that they can leverage here is the ability to take 50-50 gunfights and come out on top. We saw that's exactly what went down in the first round. Pryde's attack was solely comprised of their attempt to take control of the middle floor and then progress down inside a freezer and the main stairs laundry area. It failed epically, and the defense comes out on top. Really gives them a huge benefit and effort here, and it's not going to be really the place that you want to be as we progress through the rest of Oregon, because if consistently PhrogChamp can say that we're going to fight, we're going to bring these gunfights up, that's going to slow down the attackers way too much, and it's not sort of a rut that you want to see yourselves continue to fall into.
Yeah, the early attacking pressure there, it struggled to really develop. The early picks were huge, Sticula. I mean, losing the Sledge and the Zofia early on, it was almost an unrecoverable situation. Of course, the Ash was still in play, like we mentioned during the round, but at that point, with your core components of your operator selection now lost, it is hard to figure out exactly where you want to pressure from. Each point in the checklist that Pryde needed to accomplish just became harder and harder to actually get done. We saw the push down freezer stairs combined with the Maverick pushing down solo from that main staircase into laundry. But once the Maverick was taken out and the diffuser was dropped in the sightline of the defenders, it was very tough for them to recover that. We saw some over-aggression as well from PhrogChamp, and that's something we will actually focus on as we get more into this map and get into round number 2. We're going to see them head back over to this top floor site. Kids in Dorms will make its playoff debut, and we're going to have to see exactly how PhrogChamp is going to choose to lock this down, but more so how this attacking pressure is going to mount its force and aggression onto this site.
We've got to track the over-aggression, because if there's any team in this series that you would think would have the over-aggression, it's got to be PhrogChamp. Pryde need to be disciplined. They've got to play this slow and work together as a team and coordinate. Really, I mean, that's what it came down to in the first round. Crafty solo pushing down the main stairs, unsupported, and walking right into the midst of a big stack of defender utility. Never a position that you want to be in, and Sam will get picked off early as it's Stoll, who peeks out of the satellite window. You've got to be prepared for unbridled aggression such as that, and to now lose out early on your soft breach for 2 rounds in a row, a key pillar of the utility on the offense kicked out from under you, has got to stop.
Well, with Crafty finding a retaliating blow there onto Trix, it's going to be equalized here, but Chapai going for that aggression. The shots exchanged with Crafty, who just found one, and neither of them will net those fatal blows. But something to note here, you still got the Ash, of course. Those breaching rounds still exist. The frag grenades from Salt are still ever present, and the lack of deployable shields that PhrogChamp have elected to bring on this top floor defense has made it so that the Zofia being lost early on is actually not the end of the world. A couple of shots being exchanged, and it's Oni who prevails in the gunfight. Mouse getting over-aggressive once again, swinging out into Kitchen in search of another early pick, and will not find the kill. Chapai now rotating downstairs to Z, potentially to support now the dead Malusi in Kitchen, but now is actually caught out. And this could be quite terrible here for PhrogChamp, if that goes any worse. But Stoll, also here in Kitchen to support, will take down Oni, and it will equalize here. 3v3 now, the equal man advantage, as this downstairs pressure is mounting, but so is the on-site from this attack. Crafty finds one to cut down Miracle. Stoll on the rotate back upstairs finds one, but the plant has now gone down, and it is a post-plant situation. And a 2v2 with the feet being found from one. Dylan finds Stoll, and Chapai is all that remains. Working their way up the stairs, it's going to have to be a retake situation.
Looked like maybe there was a little bit of an advantage starting to form with the shots that connected through the vertical play, but it stopped instantly, and now Chapai put into a 1v2. He'll have to find this clutch, but with attackers on every angle, he has to find some avenue to fight his way back through. Not watching the window angle, nearly a miss there, but Salt will correct the aim, enough so to allow Pryde a response on the map. It's 1-1 all.
I really love what we just saw from Pryde. They assessed the situation. They realized, wait a minute, there are 2 of the 3 defenders left on this site, and 2 of them are downstairs in the kitchen trying to stall out the roam clear. What Pryde decided to do is they said, wait a minute, let's not devote our time and utility to getting those players out who proved that they could find frag after frag. Instead, they went straight into the double window, they jumped on into site, and they got the diffuser down. The adaptation that they just brought out was huge, and that is what won them the round. Because once you get that diffuser on the ground, once you're able to get in those good micro positions to establish in that retake situation, it was too much for PhrogChamp to handle. The retake could never come down. The defenders, they became the attackers. They had to take these gunfights that they really did not want to take. They forced the situation, and it did not work out for them. Pryde finding their first attacking round, and they did so with a brilliant adaptation in the middle of that round. That is the kind of strategy, that is the kind of on-the-fly change that we're going to have to see from both of these rosters. That is going to determine which of these teams is going to be more successful tonight.
Steely nerves from Pryde to say, we've lost an opening death. Sam gets cut down, and so instantly we go into response mode to make those changes, as you so beautifully detailed. We'll give Pryde that one-up response. Early roam here from PhrogChamp. Still waiting now down inside of the lobby, looking to cut down perhaps some early pressure from Pryde if they try to take that control. Additionally, on the map, you also have Mouse lurking over near the big tower. He's going to be this focus to try and stop the wall into Attic from being open, but Crafty will be ready for it. The drone jumps down, and that signals Mouse that it's time to fall off and retreat. Crafty possibly could have had one there if he was a bit quicker on the drop and the rappel with the gun up and ready to take that fight down and through the hallway, but unfortunately it's just one miss. Still though, good response. Pryde not being weary to fall off immediately and take this control, and PhrogChamp also with decent timing, knowing that it's not the end of the world for that Attic wall to get open, and that conserving the man advantage and staying up at all 5s is the best decision to make.
And now, as they get this closet wall open, the decision that's led them to this point turns out it's quite the good one to make. You've got this crossfire now established on Trophy as Oni, or on Games rather, as Oni is once again on the Ash roll and now working their way up into this trophy room to get that 90-degree crossfire. Usually, the third step of this attack is pressure from Attic, but right now, Pryde, having yet to get that pressure up, they are going to send it straight on into Games. Only going to use that angle to take down Shapai, and that is a good start for this attack. The C4 will not find its target, and now will telegraph the position of at least one defender who is not, in fact, on the site, who is lurking below. But there will be 2 of those very defenders. Stoll and Mouse are a little bit off the site right now. Stoll working their way up back on this white stairs, and Oni is actually going to have identified that and is going to start to rotate around. But as you see the Attic pressure now being successful, now with this 180-degree crossfire soon to be established on the Games room, and execute is all but inevitable at this point.
I think one thing that's holding off the rest of this round is the impact trick that stopped the full closet wall from being open. They've only got a crouch hole, and that allows the time to slow down a little bit more, and you can't get that combo pressure going. Nearly a triple kill. Both Salt and Sam will fall, but Crafty is there and ready with the response. A frag grenade fully cooked and tossed into the back of the kid's bedroom as Jaeger tricks, runs like hell to try and make his escape. A gas canister in the hand of Miracle launched out to Highway, trying to stop this pressure from the window. You cannot allow Crafty to lock off nearly half of the bomb site and cross any transmissions. Dylan still holding steady, but Crafty will find Stoll himself, and the Legion now gone. We're back to a 2v2. 12 seconds, low time, diffuser in the Habana's possession as Crafty is forced to make a move. Still the 2 players bunkered down and hiding. Dylan will get tricks, and it's just the smoke in the 1v1. Is he ready for Dylan? No! The Habana will prevail for Pryde to win the round and get 2 in a row.
That is the difference between these 2 teams right there. Pryde, you saw the coordination in action. They played off each other in that 2v1, and they did not allow the smoke to find them both. The position was telegraphed once the fatal blow rang out onto one attacker, Crafty, to fall. but Dylan played that very well. The swing that the smoke just was not ready for, the pre-fire landed, and the round has now landed in the hands of this attacking team. Pryde has taken another one. Now that round advantage in their hands, it will be back down to this basement site. But you have to question what PhrogChamp are bringing here. We saw them on that top floor site once again, struggling to figure out how the roam really factored into that defense. Something that cost them round number 2, and something that, while it didn't cost them round number 3, it definitely factored in. They had those players who were extended off the site a little bit, and whether they could not figure out the proper time to rotate back or the proper avenue to rotate back, you really can't say. But what it was very apparent was that Stoll and Mouse both on the roam. It was just a little bit disjointed. Had the C4 rang true onto the feet of Salt, it would have played out differently, of course, but a couple of those mishaps led Pryde to that man advantage, and who actually eventually crawl back from a disadvantageous position in that 2v3. Great job to Pryde. Now we're going to have to see how PhrogChamp can adapt and change things around going into round number 4.
So as we do make that transition into the next round, the question on my mind is whether we'll see a change from a calculated aggression to maybe even PhrogChamp stepping it up a little bit and going more freewheeling. Mouse will go out, he gets the confirm, Sam is put to the ground, and now Oni, still left in the DBNO out by the construction yard. He is picked back up by Crafty, but still not a good look to have Sam cut down early on the entry death as well. That's PhrogChamp's big success so far. The early round damage that they can deal, if that can transition with support on the defenses, I think this is honestly a winning strategy, depending on how PhrogChamp try and double down or maybe even retreat. Pryde have won rounds in the past where Sam goes down, and so it's evident that he's not the only player that you've got to remove. You still need to look at the rest of the name on Pryde's, because besides Salt, everybody is really pulling their weight so far, and the statistics are pretty even, and Salt could just as well, given a few stellar performances, bring things back on track. The aggression is still plainly evident here with Mouse sitting inside of security. If they don't drone him out, that's where his big route to success could come from. The sledge! He was looking down towards Zig, but still manages to correct the aim true. Salt will get Mouse, and now eyes forward to Freezer.
Yes, it does indeed look like that Freezer laundry take could be the focus, but you've got Oni and you've got Crafty possibly going to tempt this tower side push. Stoll, of course, lurking in Harry Potter, the first player that they are going to have to contest with, and now as Crafty starts to open up this E-Box hatch, I do believe their intentions are becoming clear. With this E-Box open, they will have an angle down onto Pillar and down into that supply room door, allowing them to mount that pressure from the north side. But a player on tower stairs is going to make that even harder. Stoll has now been droned out, but the follow is not there for Pryde. That will give Stoll a chance to make his quick escape. And now Salt will be taking up that position, but with 1 HP, a very tough angle to be challenging on, especially with Trix, the Jaeger wielding that 416, standing in your way. The nade's going to be cooked out from Salt, but Jaeger's going to make a very smart choice and going to evacuate that position. Oni now using this crossfire here in supply room. Stoll almost cut down, but going to escape narrowly with his life, but the flashes are going to ring in, and Stoll is going to be in a very tough position. The E-Box drop has landed, but so has the shots onto the head of Crafty. That's Trix who finds the blow, and now Dylan desperately searching for that retaliation, but with 15 seconds to go and now 10, things are not looking good for Pryde. Dylan going to try to bounce it back, finding one, Salt another, but Trix has something to say about that. Goodbye Dylan, and goodbye Oni. Salt, 1 HP. All that remains, and Trix will shut that down as well. PhrogChamp will find round number 4.
Really good timing with that smoke canister there to obscure and block out the E-Box door. Normally, a smoke canister is daunting to look at because nobody wants to take all that chip damage trying to move through it. Even more so with Pryde having 2 players within about 1 puff of that gas worth of life left before they died. Pryde were constricted. The communication was good towards the start of the round, especially clearing Pillar. We saw that flashbang in the frag grenade combo, leaning in, as you mentioned, Jaeger retreating at just the right moment. But when it came down, there was not communication on the player who had died in Freezer, and because of that, Pryde never corrected their aim and their focus properly over towards stock, where the big majority of the rest of the defense was held up in. And because of that gas canister, everyone on the rest of the attack was focused in. They had to rush in down the stock hallway, and that did not prove to come up as very successful. PhrogChamp starting to develop a little bit more identity here on Pryde's pick. Hopefully this can continue rest to the end of the first half, because if there's one thing that can set Pryde off balance now, it's to lose out on the early split here on their map pick.
I mean, Oregon tends to be that defensive-sided staple of Siege, but it can really go both ways. It really feels that this is one of those maps that really just goes with the mood of the series, the mood of the evening, and it seems that we're going to see, looks like a pretty even split so far, but of course, with 2 rounds to go in this half, it's not quite all said and done already. Now we're going to see how this aggression from PhrogChamp is going to develop. You've got Stoll lurking in T3, and you've got Mouse hanging out here in Garage. Both of these players definitely positioned well off the site, looking to make quite an impact. Sam droning out T3 here. Actually, might not be. Stoll is playing this very patient, and oh no, I don't know if Sam is aware of this and is gonna get punished. Oh dear. PhrogChamp, the aggression paying off once again, but more so the error from Pryde. It seems that Sam hasn't even had a chance to play this game. The entry pick nearly every single time, sitting at 0 and 5.
That's got to be a catalog error there. To lose Sam again, you need to look forward here as Pryde and start to correct some of those early mispositions, early misdroning. That's not something that you can let repeat here, and PhrogChamp are really forcing Pryde to feel the pain, as now they'll get Oni and Crafty. Stoll with 2 so far, not yet ready to give up this advanced position here at the top of the tower. Pryde somewhat misaligned in their efforts. They don't know totally what the decision is. They're still worried about Mouse, who was sitting earlier in Garage, but it seems that info is woefully outdated now, and they're not going to get much luck just by sitting out towards the main door and sledging open the vertical from above. They've got to recognize that PhrogChamp, after seeing Crafty, Oni, and Sam dead, are just going to rotate back to hold the objective, conserve the advantage for as long as they have, and use the cross angles combined with that man advantage to give Pryde the hardest time that they can. Stoll will run out. Dylan was super ready for it, but that still is not enough to make the difference. Finally, another set and a response here for PhrogChamp.
Well, an unfortunate turn of events for Pryde. Probably what looked like the worst round so far in terms of their attack. I mean, it simply never got started. They got shut down at every turn. Not only did their entry fraggers barely even make it in the building, but every other player was cut down before the round could even get close to reaching its expiring point. But what really characterized that round was, of course, the well-extended and solo roam plays that PhrogChamp chose to bring out. Now, this style of roam can be very hit or miss, because for the most part, you're crossing your fingers and you're just hoping for a massive droning mistake from Pryde. And PhrogChamp hoped for that. They put a player in T3. It was Amazi who had no utility to deny a grenade or to deny an impact or a stun that the Zofia could throw on in, but it didn't seem to matter. I mean, Pryde didn't drone it out, and so by going unnoticed, the frags were found for PhrogChamp. Another droning mistake in Garage. Mouse went undiscovered and was able to find the impact by just absolutely getting that flank when nobody was expecting it. They played the hit or miss style of roam, and for PhrogChamp, it definitely hit in round number 5. And so as you go forth to round number 6, we're gonna finally see that tertiary bomb site come to play, its meeting and its kitchen. But what we're gonna have to see here from Pryde is an absolutely different style of attack. Drone it out first. You can't be face checking these angles, and we're already going to see how Oni is making that presence felt. But we're already going to see Salt try to go for some early pressure, but the castle barricade narrowly going up, and now the attack is going to get underway.
Full split rush here. Oni will file in through the doorway as Miracle is ill prepared for it. A 5v4 in sight control massively in the favor of Pryde, was stole down as well. He's confirmed here by Sam. And the diffuser down in a matter of seconds, well within the first round. Oni will collect. Mouse is the aggression from PhrogChamp is mounted by a fury from Pryde. Just Shapai and Trix left. Shapai will get him on the long angle and leave things between him and Trix. The Cade and the Jaeger, not the most opportune duo to have, but they'll take what works. With Oni on low HP, he's got to be the next focus, but some crucial missed shots will further lessen the likability for this round to go under their way. Pryde, an excellent rush, well executed, the guns all on lock.
Somehow, I mean, they just made it happen. They decided, well, the aggression from PhrogChamp was huge. Why not we counter that with some of our own? They made their last attacking round look pretty easy. And well, they will now go ahead with that 3-3 even split. They will go ahead to that defensive half. But I mean, oh my, I'm still caught up on that last round. The decision from Pryde to go for that rush, whoever called it, well done. I mean, you saw the opening. The castle barricade hadn't been put up yet. While it did get put up just in time, there was no utility and no defenders to stop them from just sending it in there, getting that plant down, and taking the round.
Yeah, honestly, what that looks like to me is Pryde knowing exactly what PhrogChamp are going to do and reading well into it. And I have to kind of think whether or not that was some communication from the support staff on Pryde's part, telling them to, you know, look out for these key crucial operators that are going to signal what PhrogChamp will attempt on a tertiary defense. You saw critical, the castle. When you're running a castle on this site, it really informs what exactly is going to happen, or on the meeting objective rather, because that's when you're going to see more of a kind of focus on going for some of those latitude holds, trying to play vertical and, you know, slowing things down as much as possible. PhrogChamp wasted, or rather Pryde wasted no time. They didn't even try to go above or take any control of attic, because they understood that with the right amount of response time and pressure early flying in through split, that they could usurp control of meeting as almost an afterthought. And it's a really excellent way to see them enter and go 3-3 here. Now, as we switch over to the defense, they will respond with a tertiary site of their own, and quite the interesting operator selection, bringing both the Warden and the Frost.
Yeah, the antics of round number 6 are going to continue and be, well, very much a factor here in round number 7. Like you said, Sticula, the Frost will be in play. 2 of those Frost mats underneath this tower window that it does appear Mouse is tempting to possibly go on through. Oh, the shot. Stoll will pick up the one tap onto Dylan, who got a bit over aggressive, but now the fact that he is a Frost could be unknown because of that one tap. No longer saw the operator go down. The C4 from 1. Mouse is going to get absolutely caught in a Frost mat. Trix, careful to get stuck in the other one, will revise the teammate. And there's the what in chat. Mouse is simply perplexed, wondering why in the world is there a Frost in play. But as the EUL finals really showcase for us, is that Frost can actually be somewhat of a viable pick when employed on the right bomb sites in the right situation. But the situation now in round number 7, Pryde finds themselves on the back foot of 3v4, Salt, Sam, and Crafty, all that remains.
Decision-making could be a big factor here. The swing, the thermite down, he's not confirmed. You cannot peek that angle again, but perhaps it'll be the Maverick hole that creates the opening for Crafty to confirm his kill. Revive is here from Miracle, so now both Shapai and Mouse are on low HP. This makes it a little bit more workable for Pryde if they can be crack on and ready with the aim once the entry comes through. PhrogChamp need to have the proper amount of intel here when they decide that it's time to make the play. Salt will begin his aggression, perhaps not, as he doubles back and doesn't try to push it all the way through. PhrogChamp entirely focused on the west side take. This could be good or bad. If they try to go in individually, it could be punished, as we see Crafty pick off the 0. That's a great way to get this one rolling, and now you've got just Miracle left on the attack for full HP players. Still 2 frag grenades in his pocket, something he could make good use of. There is still the ADS to worry about it. Of course, with those new changes, they probably well regenerated and reactivated by now. Miracle will force the issue as he begins to attempt the plant, but Crafty will pick off the player in small tower. Plant is successful though, as we'll see kills go back and forth. Sam, the big player to watch here as he goes for the double entry, retaking control of Dining. We'll see Pryde come out on top. First defense.
Well, a very strong defensive performance, but more so it seemed that PhrogChamp simply got stuck in small tower. Even though they had the man advantage, they had that 4-3 lead in the round, it didn't matter, and now the 4-3 lead is, of course, in the hands of Pryde. I mean, what really characterized that was the small tower push was successful. A couple of free kills found themselves in the hand of the attackers, but the utility that was employed by Pryde remained. You saw the deployable shield on that long hall in Showers Hall. You had the utility all the way in Kitchen, just locking off those long angles. A good bit of soft destruction was employed, and it became a bit challenging for PhrogChamp to actually push on in and get the diffuser down. A couple of ill-advised swings gave some kills to Pryde, and even though that diffuser eventually hit the floor, it was Pryde who just collapsed on the planter, collapsed on the execute, shut it down, took the round. Now we are heading to this basement site after that quite successful defense from Pryde.
Well, you can see the results of the match so far. 3 victories from PhrogChamp, though their streak has been interrupted. Going back and forth between the first and second splits on the basement. Now we will go with a bit of an extension, sort of info denial here, with the focus on bringing the Mozzie and the Mute. I like this. You've got to put PhrogChamp in a position where they're making these ill-informed decisions, where they don't have the proper amount of intel to push you. That's when Pryde can find themselves in a great spot. If you're so focused on, just instantly pushing in, you have to lean on your reaction shots to make those proper entries. And if you can deny that overall here, and as well with Sam on the Vigil, I think that could provide a world of hurt, and PhrogChamp might be reeling come next round.
Yeah, it's going to be all about how efficient that clear can go down, or if the clear is completely neglected and they decide to just send it straight on into that site. Salt's going to make that harder, though, by contesting on main lobby, and now that Sam has been spotted out, PhrogChamp will be fully aware of exactly what kind of roam presence they're going to deal with. But they know that Sam is upstairs, and they know that he has to rotate down eventually. That's why we're going to see Miracle and Trix positioned on this bottom of the white stairs door, and they're going to send Miracle upstairs. But the hatch drop was successful. Sam and Oni have now retreated back to this first floor, and Oni will now take up a position in security. Trix seems to be aware that there could be a defender lurking around any of these corners, but this very extended hold seems that most of these defenders are waiting to come back down to the first floor, to that basement, and Sam is going to get punished for that decision. So will Oni. They will be cut down early, and all of a sudden Pryde and their, well, it used to be a map control advantage is now completely forgotten as Salt goes for an aggressive swing, finds one, but again, ill-advised. The trade landing in the favor of PhrogChamp. Another swing and more aggression from Pryde. Dylan going for the top of the main stairs peak, and will find Trix before escaping and removing that pressure from the hallway. But in this man disadvantage situation, still, Pryde have to recover now 2v3 with this PhrogChamp attack. Ample utility left, ample time left, and ample drone economy left, waiting to just get this push. If they play together, a win could easily be under their belt here.
Bit of a questionable decision for Dylan to push up, but if it works, it works. And if it nets you a little bit closer one step, inching your way towards the man advantage, I don't blame him. But Crafty's decision was not so easily excused. Dylan will collect onto Stoll, so you've got the Zofia knocked down, but Miracle and Mouse are instantly ready to take their place. Dylan has got to work his way around. He's searching for anything, but Mouse hears the sound call, and that might be communicated. Up close and personal, Dylan within the freezer still in the ash, inching her way up, trying to find this response. Dylan will move his way closer to the freezer wall. An excellent reaction to collect onto Mouse. And it's just the player nearly dropping down the E-box hatch now as Miracle closes in. No frag grenades to accelerate his play. Dylan will get the round. An excellent clutch from him. Calm, cool, collected. A veteran. He gets it done.
Well, I said it in the 2v3 Sticula. This is still going to require coordination from PhrogChamp. If you have a man advantage, it is more important than ever to play off your teammate. You have to work together to force out those last remaining defenders, because as we just saw on display, they can be so elusive. They can be running all over the site without the utility, without the information. PhrogChamp really didn't stand a chance there. A brilliant clutch in that closing moment. We did not see the Ash and the Maverick play together at all. The Maverick goes for that E-box hatch drop, but was a little bit too late. At that point, the smoke could reposition, could get a better angle on that site, could get a deployable shield even, and really a brilliant job there from Pryde to clutch it out. But something I want to bring up here, Sticula, is the coordination that these two teams have really been showcasing all night. Because on your defensive half, of course, coordination and team play is required. But if you have those kinks and those mistakes that aren't really being showcased on defense, they are absolutely going to come to the forefront on attack. You can only hide a lack of coordination for so long. And for PhrogChamp, it appears that while they looked competent on defense, right now on attack, things are not looking too good.
It's really worrying in the score of the second half, because PhrogChamp, they had a great opportunity opening this. You know, it was almost kind of a situation where you had the tertiary site come up first, and so that's probably your greatest opportunity when we talk about where you're going to win on Oregon, because it can be defender-sided, and if you compound that with Pryde, this being their pick, it just feels like a huge hill to overcome. But now we'll see the clutch up come through twice in a row, and that puts PhrogChamp in a position where they have to say, we're going to go to the strongest bomb site, and if we lose, it puts Pryde on match point with a lot more work to be done. But now with the focus on this round, we can see that Pryde will implement kind of an APAC style strategy where you'll hold with the closet wall open and try to use that to create leverage on the master bedroom itself. Not totally sure if it's successful as of yet, with Oni falling first, and now this route being open compromises a big part of the objective and largely the extension of that side. It's going to be all on Pryde to collect some of these frags, going aggressive. Almost a shot through the wall. Sam will correct it to get that pick, but still you find yourself down by one.
Again, not a situation that Pryde want to be in, but as they showcase just one round to go, you can't count them out here, especially if PhrogChamp are going to struggle to play off each other and actually get a coordinated execute going. You've got Stoll on the attic push. You've got Mouse and Shapai over on this east side trophy and master take. Miracle, of course, joining the Zofia in that attic take. So the crossfire is soon to be established, especially now that Salt has been cut down. It's going to be made even easier to get control of this game's side. Dylan prepping that smoke to possibly clip through the wall as Sam going to exchange a few shots with the Ash here, dropping Mouse down just a little bit, but no fatal blows are being found. You cross the minute mark and you cross off Sam from this roster. He'll be out and down for the count in round number 9. Shapai now going for the plant. It's all up to Dylan. Has to clutch this out once again. Throwing out those toxic babes. Finding one. Good shot onto Stoll, but still has 3 more to find. Hello? Nice shot there. Taking down Mouse. He's only got 2 more to find, but he's only got about 20 seconds to do it. Now a post plant. You've got Miracle and Shapai there in a lot better positions than their fallen teammates were, and now Dylan is scrambling around and is going to have to search for these frags. The aggression, not there just yet from the smoke. Shapai knows that he can be aggressive on this swing. He will do so. He will cut down Dylan, and PhrogChamp will find themselves a round number 9 attacking win.
Such a good attempt there from Dylan, and he's really been towing the line for 2 rounds in a row now, but putting him in a 1v4 where the attackers have so much time to set up their final positions, I think it's just too much of an ask. And out of any player coming into this game, social media has been really active in support of Salt and Crafty, and they've been doing their jobs. I mean, look at Crafty. He's got 4 assists and 8 kills, so he's clearly hitting shots when he needs to. But Dylan is the consistent factor. In their previous game, when they played versus Team 99, Dylan didn't do the best, but he was still kind of hovering around that good impact point where you want to be at. And now to see him being so successful, the question falls on, can the rest of Pryde, specifically Sam and Oni, start to wake up and fill out the rest of the line? Because leaving Dylan in the clutch situation, even if we know he's phenomenally talented, that's not something that you can count on. As long as PhrogChamp, close to the end, are going to give him 1v1s, it's workable, but you can't always count on that here. Dylan, really, he's got to be my MVP so far, but looking towards the rest of the game, I'm hoping that everybody else can pick up the slack.
10 seconds to
Well,
go.
what we saw there from Pryde in that last round, of course, you mentioned the split that this roster has been putting down, but you also mentioned the interesting hold that they were going on the closet. It didn't really work out at all, rather, as there didn't have to be any hard breach used on that. There was no support from the armory side. That's often a staple of that closet hold. You put somebody in armory to actually support that player. It didn't work out, and despite that, Pryde don't seem to bother. They're gonna head right back in and do the same strategy once again. You've got that rotate. I believe you still have got that rotate in the closet side, but now Salt is going to be playing a little bit more of a forward position up here in Master itself. Mouse and Shapai are going to be pressuring from this armory side. They're going to hope to establish the crossfire on this Goyo, because once you get that wall opened, Salt will have to either fall back or fall down to his early grave. But so far, he is going to remain stalwart behind this shield and actually choose to get aggressive a little bit. But as the Ash charges are going to roll in from below and remove that mute jammer from play, Shapai will now be able to do what he does best, use that exothermic charge to open up a new door. In the meantime, you've got the attic pressure mounting, you've got the Zofia and the Maverick pressuring from there, and you've got Trix starting it off and removing the Goyo from play.
Again, we'll see probably the largest weakness of this strategy, and that's Master Bedroom just falling by the wayside. Tricks! Oh, from way out far, he'll find Oni. Stoll gets onto Sam as well. Miracle is down in attic, but nobody is there to confirm the kill. Crafty making a risky decision to try and swing out will once again leave Dylan in a do-or-die position. He's managed the 1v3 before, but can he get it done again? It's all about the decisions here from PhrogChamp. A rare miss as he fails to connect with the SMG-11. The arm is spotted, but Mouse closing on in will land PhrogChamp another Dorms win. This APAC extension strategy in Master Bedroom has got to go.
Whew, that one was incredibly unsuccessful from Pryde. That one really never even got started, and we saw them really fall victim to the same problem on defense again. They had overextended players, or at least players who just weren't willing to fall off their early gunfights. And because of that, it went from being a 5v5 to a 5v2 in a matter of 30 seconds once the round began. I mean, that is something that Pryde just cannot be doing going forward. We saw them struggle with it on their basement site defense, but of course the clutch brought them back in that situation. But really, that is not what you need to be doing from Pryde. It has to be cleaner. They're playing a bit overextended. They're playing a bit too eager to get in their gunfights, and on a defensive half, that is no way to get the momentum going, especially on your own map pick. Of course, you're going to be tempted to play flashy, to get those kills on the board and really light up the scoreboard. But as has been very, very evident so far, is that that strategy is not working from Pryde. And if they want to find these adjustments, if they want to start to rack up some more defensive rounds, we're going to have to see them play a little bit closer to the site, a little bit more in that anchor style, because PhrogChamp are simply winning their 1v1 gunfights.
So heading down to the basement again, we've got a very near repeat of this same sort of roam with the Mute Mozzie until denial meta. And what worries me is This was one of the rounds that was defined by Dylan clutching it up to forward them success. In the early round, on that previous attempt with this strategy, Pryde crumbled. Their map control fell by the wayside, and PhrogChamp collected a huge streak of frags, pretty much eliminating the entire concept of this roam. That is something you have to worry about. You have to deny it again, and you need to focus more on playing with your teammates. In a roam that's difficult, but there is sort of a decision that needs to be made here. If you lose out early and, you see a couple picks come here or there and PhrogChamp compromise key sections of this strategy, you have to make that decision to forfeit and rotate back down to the bomb site, because Dylan has to have a break. You can't just put him in these do-or-die positions 1,000 times over and over again, because it's not always guaranteed. We'll see one kill go the wayside, but Oni dropping down the hatch catches Tricks, completely unaware. The response is there, as Stoll will get the trade. And now all of a sudden, again, Pryde are looking like their extension strategy is starting to fall back and wither.
And look at what we've got here, Sticula. 90 seconds gone, the roam dealt with, and lo and behold, it is Dylan and Crafty for like the 4th round in a row, left all alone to clutch it up. Of course, they did it just a few rounds ago on this very same site, but now PhrogChamp are no doubt going to learn from those mistakes. It's Crafty instead who picks up Mouse, who's on that solo push upstairs in Armory, and Crafty is now going to have the opportunity to rotate back to the site to support Dylan, who has now been holding off this 2-man push all on his own for the last few seconds, as now Crafty hits the floor, as Stoll will deliver that pick, or at least the down but not out, onto the mute. Once again, Dylan and the clutch, they're going to have to be synonymous with each other. Stoll will pick up one, or actually, in fact, it will be Dylan who picks up Stoll, dropping the Zofia down. But once again, this is a resible position, not to mention the withstand ability from the Zofia will allow her to get back into this fight. Dylan exchanging a couple of shots there, but with 30 seconds to go, here comes the push, but Dylan finds one. It's all up to Shapai once again versus Dylan, a 1v1. He's going to pick up the kill, boost the KD just a little bit. Dylan sees that opportunity, swung out for a moment, but will now retreat onto the site and play this passively. The diffuser now going down, but it's a bait. Shapai will now rotate around, but Dylan is going to solidify that rotate hold and positioning in case he needs to get on out and get this frag, but it's Shapai. He's going to chase the frag instead of going for the plant, swinging around, but he's got no idea. The M590 sends on Shapai. Goodbye once again, Pryde. Dylan clutches it up. I cannot believe this has happened again.
Dylan, how is he so good that every time we go down to the basement, it's a huge disadvantage? He manages to just reel it back, putting in so much effort right now that PhrogChamp have got to be shaking every time they decide to take a 1v1. And PhrogChamp, even in that scenario, had the best thing happen. It was the Zofia who got downed initially. That meant that Stoll could have very easily, and he did, just pick himself back up. So no longer are you taking another one of these risks where it's Dylan versus another of the 5 on PhrogChamp to get the round or to lose. The Zofia picks herself back up. Dylan just wins a simple gunfight. And now PhrogChamp have to do it all over again, and we know how that goes when it's Dylan in the clutch. 14-6, playing on the support role.
It is just incredible what Dylan has been doing right now. I mean, you talked about him as the MVP earlier. I am going to echo that statement, but these two teams are going back and forth with strong moments and then absolute catastrophes. I mean, PhrogChamp cannot be losing those 3v2 situations multiple times on the same site, in the same map, in the same series. It is a mistake that needs to be removed and something that they need to solve going forward. And Pryde, they cannot be throwing away all of their defensive prowess so early on. But at the same time, they've got the prowess on the side of Dylan. And Tricks is going to start things off quite interestingly enough, taking down Miracle. Calling for the rehost, but of course that will be no more now that the Maverick has been absolutely sauced on by his own teammate. So now with a man disadvantage going into this attack, Pryde, they could be looking good here to taking match point.
So what we've got to look at now is Miracle is dead, and this round, until the admins decide otherwise, is still legit and in play. Both teams have to play at their full capacity, because if Pryde win this round, even if PhrogChamp are saying, oh, no, we're waiting for the rehost, Pryde could take this map if PhrogChamp aren't playing at their full effort. We'll have the TK go out through, and even then, still Stoll will find a response. And that's the one advantage that you had here. You don't want to give it away, but it's not in a lot of these rounds where we've seen Pryde be chief with the opening death. Still, though, PhrogChamp will carry through despite that opening situation and collect 3 kills for it.
Yes, Sam and Oni are all that remains. Oni going to get caught out from behind, but Sam is there to support the mute, and we'll find Shapai. But once again, it's a 3v2, a situation we have seen time and time again. The vertical play coming out from the attackers, and it will net them 1 kill, or 1 down but not out, at least, as Sam is taken into his down stage, and Oni finds 1 to keep things relatively even, but it is essentially a 1v2. Stolen mouse capitalized. PhrogChamp round number 12, and overtime is on the horizon.
Here we go. The OT is through, and we'll have to wait and see. I think the admins are kind of discussing everything going through the film and trying to make their decision. It's their job. We'll let them do it, and we'll figure out just exactly what the impact of that will be. But from us casters and from the players currently live, we are 6-6 in overtime, with Pryde kicking off us with the first defense. So you've got that advantage here and now. Let's hope that we don't have another TK on the offense from PhrogChamp, and Pryde can steady themselves and say, if we get an advantage, let's hold on to it. Let's stick with it. Let's not take any risks or overexpose ourselves. Aggression is PhrogChamp's game. Coordination and that chemistry. You've got to rely on that here for Pryde. Play it slow, play it smart.
Well, in that last round, Stickula was a little bit backwards. It was actually Pryde who had the man advantage early on, and it was them who actually threw it away in the way that PhrogChamp did just 1 round previously. But our focus will shift, of course, to overtime now. This is SCS. We go hard in overtime. Of course, infinite overtime is always a possibility. You've got to get that win by 2. And so Pryde, on their defensive round, or at least they will be starting out defense, or starting out overtime on defense, excuse me, they will be looking to find some more success than they've found. I mean, even though these rounds have gone 3-3 on both halves, I have got to argue that Pryde have looked quite rough on the defense. They have been stuck in these clutch situations, and sure, Dylan has pulled it out twice, but if you assume that PhrogChamp could have had those rounds that Dylan didn't clutch them up, then all of a sudden you're looking at a dominant PhrogChamp victory, but one that has been stalled out by really just Dylan and Dylan alone. And so now going into overtime, Pryde are going to need to find a change here. They cannot keep throwing away their early defensive advantage and their micro positioning. Their macro strategy hasn't even had a chance to really get underway on 50% of their defensive performances, simply because they're losing players early. But it already looks like those mistakes will be corrected. They're sending it into that full turtle strategy, or at least a majority turtle strategy on this bottom floor. And with Sam finding Mouse, that is exactly how Pryde wanted to start.
Feld Mouse, one of the 3 core fraggers, one of the top performers in lobby. And so now you just have to fall back on it. Do what I said during the prep phase and don't give up this huge advantage that you have so early collected. I think Pryde still have 1 member inching around on the roam. It looked like they were over towards White Stairs, but we don't know for yet until the player rears his head, and neither do PhrogChamp unless they've got some superhuman senses or perhaps even just a drone. The hatch being open, so they'll have this additional vector of leverage should they get this open and deny any hold of E-Box, but what's actually being denied is blue bunker, period. PhrogChamp are having such difficulty taking control of this because they know if they push in, they hold close at the wall, they're going to have to fight Oni here at Shaiko spot. Waiting close to the door, Stoll is the first across the line as he tries to clear out one of the Malusi Banshees. But now as he looks over towards the wall, you can see it's already been reinforced. The rotate is closed. Oni inches close to the door, but it's Sam who will find Stoll as the bunker position tends to wither down. Still Oni trying to swing around, and there's one player who's magically appeared inside a pillar, but he can't fight two at once. The crack shot, the reaction here from Oni. The round to push us forward to overtime may yet have been found in favor of Pryde as it's 2 frags. Sit out.
There it goes. Pryde finally able to hold on to that man advantage, forcing FrogChamp onto the back foot in a big way. The attack really lost all of its traction very early on. It was up to a couple of Hail Mary style plays, the drop down E-box from the Maverick, of course finding one, but the trade was there. Pryde did a good job on that basement defense for locking it down, playing off each other, and simply that is exactly what they needed to do to find a defensive win. But going forward to round 14, of course, the sides will now switch, and now it will, of course, be FrogChamp to take up that defensive side. Now they will be the ones locking it down, and now Pryde have to find some attacking success, something that they did about 50% of the time. Well, exactly 50% of the time on the first split.
I am a bit worried to this round because it's been so long since we've seen PhrogChamp on defense, and the problem that gives is potentially Pryde have fallen back on the knowledge, and they don't remember what happened early in the first half, that FrogChamp played as aggressively as nearly as possible. They peaked constantly. They looked for an opening that they could create at nearly every opportunity, and it was Sam who went quiet for a large part of that first half, solely because they could not trump the peaks, the swings, and the aggressive runouts that FrogChamp were utilizing. Moving in, the hard breach is there, and Oni counters it instantly. That's the type of play, that's the action that could potentially put you over the line in the first map of our quarterfinals here. Mouse shut down and taken away without a second thought.
Well, that aggression we saw from Mouse is exactly what found FrogChamp so much defensive success on their first half. You put a player well extended off the site, you go for an aggressive spawn peek or an aggressive window peek, and at least in the first half of this map, it worked very well for FrogChamp. Mouse specifically and Stoll, they've been racking up a ton of kills with that aggressive roam style, but this time in overtime, when it matters the most, it did not work out for Mouse. Finally, Pryde were able to realize what they were dealing with and shut down at least part of that early aggression. But the other part of that aggression, Stoll, is on that Mozzie roll and is here on the Armory stairs waiting to make his presence felt as well. Of course, Oni is nervous that there could be someone lurking around, but I don't believe any drone work has successfully spotted the Mozzie. Stoll has been able to rotate around all the way upstairs and now into attic, and could be a serious problem later in this round. He's gonna see for himself into tower, but Sam is waiting and ready to send the Mozzie to the grave. Now a 5v3 man advantage, and now Pryde are gonna look forth to this execute to take this round.
Read like a book. Pryde in the perfect position, and Sam the one to execute it. He gets it done. There will be no roam. FrogChamp have got to utilize as much of this manpower that they've got left on the board to protect the walls of the objective and hold off Pryde for as long as possible. Shapai will do exactly that as he finds Salt to try and stop this pressure from Pillar, swinging the reinforcement. A mishap completely as Crafty will gun down Trix, and now it's just Miracle left as Shapai has been dropped. Sam on a double kill, crossing the corner. He'll get it as Pryde with round number 14. Sam will get it all.
Well, they made it happen when it mattered the most. They chained 2 rounds together, 1 on defense, 1 on attack. They will successfully take their own map pick of Oregon. Of course, it was probably a bit closer than Pryde wanted, and I think a bit closer than a lot of us expected, to be honest. Of course, we saw every single caster, aside from SJ, our analyst, who really went all in on Pryde. But FrogChamp proved here in map number 1 that they have come here to play. As disjointed as some people think their prowess is going to be, they proved they can hang with Pryde, they can go down to the wire, and they can even send it to overtime. When we saw antics, we saw lots of crazy stuff, but it was at the end of the day Pryde who took the win and will go ahead to map 2 with the advantage.
That was a very beautiful map that we just saw, but I think, Stick, it was you that said FrogChamp had a really nice defensive setup, but what happened to them on the attack? Why couldn't they step toe-to-toe against Pryde in the second half?
It just feels like there was this huge energy of confidence from Pryde in every fight that they were taking, even if it was at a huge disadvantage, a desolate situation, and a lot of times there was somebody there. Sometimes it was Crafty, sometimes it was Dylan. Everybody pulled through in the hour of need to carry Pryde across the line to get it done, and the coordination in those attacks, it just wasn't there for me. They didn't have enough effort, enough chemistry, and it really didn't look like they were fully prepared in those last second situations when they were given, sometimes gifted, huge advantages well in advance, the manpower on their side. FrogChamp were not able to fully utilize that to the biggest extent, and it really is not going to get you farther here on Oregon, or even worse on Consulate, where we look towards next.
Yeah, speaking of Consulate though, Jay-Z, this is going to be an interesting map. We saw how aggressive that Pryde can be on their own attacks, but are they going to go even harder on Consulate, or are Frog going to finally step back, or push back, excuse me?
Well, I mean, Consulate is one of those maps that is so hard to predict based on, another map's performance, because it's so unique in the way it actually plays out. I mean, some call it the window repel simulator, whatever you want to call it. It is an interesting map to play, and it plays very differently than pretty much every other map in Siege. It requires a lot of coordination on attack, but there are a handful of different strategies you can actually bring. There are so many options where it comes to window repels, like I mentioned, admin takes, and you just work your way in on a top-down clear. So many different options, but they all require a certain level of coordination, and aggression on this map, in my experience, tends to be punished a little bit more than rewarded. And so these teams are going to have to find that balance. Maybe that aggression from both of these teams is going to have to be tamed down just a little bit for both of them to find success.
Oh, and there we go. We have the map summary. Makes me wonder, though, looking at all the stats here, if we're going to see map 2 be a game of pride and punishment, or FrogChamps can bring it back here. Stick, you've been pretty vocal during the cast about, FrogChamp and how much they've come through as well. But Pryde, they just really edged out in that second half. But we saw some craziness like the Frost and Warden. I'd love to hear more about that.
Well, talking about craziness, especially looking forward to Consulate, at the first round, or the last round rather, of the first half, we saw that Pryde, if given the right opportunity, will attempt crazy plays. They went for that rush. Once they saw that FrogChamp were going for that tertiary meeting defense, going to Consulate, which some describe as kind of a mix between the gunny maps and the more coordinated maps. That's what I'm really hoping to see. Really aggressive play where everybody will put their lives on the line to try to get it done, but still try to recover some elements of that coordination. You can't completely forget about it. And there's a reason why FrogChamp have picked into this. I think with their chemistry, of course, they've all played together for a long time in the past. I think going to Consulate is evidence of that. Maybe they think that, this is the map where we can finally come out on top of. It has enough opportunities to play aggressive and to show gun skill, and perhaps that's sort of the thinking behind it. I'm really looking forward to the hype and just the epic battles that we're about to see.
I think you both brought up a really good point, though, about the attacking window simulator, the aggressiveness from both teams. But if I'm FrogChamp right now, I'm a little worried. Their attack wasn't as clean as stellar as Pryde's was, and Jay-Z, if you're feeling really confident, it's not too late to change your prediction to FrogChamp, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic that both of these teams are really bringing out, and I'm just going to highlight something I'm looking at on the statistics right now. It's the entry from FrogChamp. That has been, as you can clearly see, that has been their overwhelming strength compared to Pryde. Almost every chance they get, both on their attacking half and their defensive half, they absolutely outshined Pryde in terms of those entry frags. And when it comes down to it, Consulate can lend itself to a very one-sided, particular round when the man advantage really swings in one favor or the other. On Oregon, it was that way as well. So what PhrogChamp has going for them is that early aggression, those early picks that are forcing Pryde onto the back foot, and Pryde are going to have to come up with some sort of answer for that. Otherwise, I do think PhrogChamp on their own map pick could have a serious chance.
You're absolutely right, Jay-Z and Stick. You guys have been great so far, but let's talk about something a little bit near in the future too, and that's going to be the Season 5 qualifiers too. It's going to be crazy to see, and the signups will be soon, and we saw on the screen already how it's all going to be broken down. And of course, the dates, February 3rd to the 5th, that's going to be the open qualifier number 1, and so on and so forth. It's going to be really cool to see. Just about any team can enter into it, but only the top 10 are going to advance forwards. So it's going to be tough competition. Some will be invited, but everyone has to start somewhere in the beginning here. It's going to be a matter of who's going to come out on top in the rigorous T3 scene that all of us in Siege are very, very, very well familiar with.
I'm really excited, honestly, for the qualifiers because S5, Season 5 for SCS has just been hyped up constantly. We saw there's that awesome promo video that Ferme went out and shot, and so in this run-up, we're all thinking about, who's going to be competing. I think already we've had Ariel Arise commit to participating in the qualifiers, and that gives me a pretty clear idea and visual of what the competition in this next season is going to look like. So you really, want to look towards that. You want to sign up, and it's also a huge kind of experience, along with, I would say, clout boost. Because, when you play in the qualifiers, SCS does a big production for all of the qualifiers, 1 game per round. And so it gives you an opportunity. If you're that up-and-coming star that people are talking about, maybe you will get featured on stream.
Everyone has to start somewhere, right? I mean, even we had to start somewhere, but so many pros in the competitive scene of Siege all had to start from these smaller leagues, and these smaller leagues have blossomed and grown up to some amazing things that we've seen. But I'm not going to waste your time too much, guys. We're going to be going to map number 2. It's going to be Consulate. It's a game of aggressiveness. Stick, Jay-Z, good luck, guys. Let's see both teams kill it out there.
So long, Max. It is going to be a great map, I am sure. We saw Oregon and how crazy it was. We saw rushes. We saw Frost. That was a fun pick. We saw actually one player get down in a Frost mat. Well, Consulate may or may not lend itself to the same antics, to the same picks, but regardless, I am excited and absolutely eager to see how PhrogChamp can respond to Pryde, if they can take their own map pick, or if we are going to see Pryde replicate the same success they found 11 days ago when they won 2-0. But the operator bans are first before we can see how it's going to shake out, and we're going to repeat some of those bans from Oregon. Thatcher and Ace are in the rubbish bin.
I'm interested and kind of curious behind PhrogChamp leaving purposely the Nomad up on the board, because I feel like if there's any ban that you're going to try to bring forward here, it's something that allows you to play more aggressive, and banning Nomad would be the perfect one to get that job done. You remove the possibility to have those such commonplace air jabs on places like the Yellow Stairs door or on the garage itself if you're talking about up top, and I just feel like that's something that you could have done here and they might have missed out on. But you also have to think about the more conventional ideas behind the map, and why maybe banning the Thatcher to make attacking a little bit more difficult is a focus when you're starting out initially on the defense. I don't totally see the value of the Thatcher ban anymore, because it's almost become kind of like Mira, where when you've got the Thatcher ban, people don't always play it. But I don't know, maybe there's a different line of thinking going on here specifically. The Buck is really nice to see, because Buck is almost never present anymore.
Yeah, Buck is always fun to bring out. It really does show that you put some thought into your strats, because Buck, of course, the skeleton key, lends itself to opening up floors, opening up ceilings from above. The vertical play is going to be a big factor, at least I could assume, of this attack coming out from Pryde. But of course, starting things out on that top floor on console and meeting room, the vertical pressure is always a bit harder to obtain. Of course, the garage site is generally where we see the vertical pressure shine the most. But you've got to remember that in Meeting Hall, that entire floor is soft. In Piano, the ceiling of that is soft as well. You can see for Skeleton Key, you can vertical play your heart's desires on this map, and we are going to see Salt attempt to bring that out. You combine that with the IQ, no doubt as well a counter for a possible pulse play, but another operator who feeds so heavily into that vertical play, into removing hard breach denial from above or below, and removing the presence of any pesky operators who find themselves staring at their phone on a camera. It's going to be Stoll staring out of a window to kick off Consulate, trying to start in style by finding another early frag, setting their defensive momentum going strong, but the shots will not connect, and Pryde will emerge unscathed for what looks like the beginning of an admin-sided take.
So that aggression, which was seen so common from the FrogChamp defense back on Oregon, will rear its head again, and I think that's largely to nobody's surprise. FrogChamp are going to try to take these advantages, catch Pryde off guard, though it's going to be really difficult to find them off guard, considering that they've just been shown that time after time, FrogChamp are looking to find these fights, and they aren't wasting any time to find the gunfights, to find the players to take the fight to. Admin takes are something that teams have become a little bit more common with. Just rappelling on the windows over by CEO leaves you really vulnerable, and that's within the thought of CEO itself just doesn't get played very much anymore. Teams like to play, you know, more lobby, more basement, and even a little bit more split recently, just because of the nature that it's not exactly the most defensible, but if you play it right, it can become very challenging to attack as that offensive point of view. Shapai will try to creep up the Visa stairs, but a flashbang obscures his vision and forces him to fall back. Meanwhile, however, Oni will suffer the opening death.
Stoll may not have found that early spawn peak, but taking out Oni here, he's definitely made his presence felt. And now this attack is continuing to develop, continuing to assess exactly how they want to get what appears to be a meeting side take going. Of course, Miracle and Mouse are going to be those players holed up in there contesting that long angle, and we are going to see an impact trick actually be successful. That first set of X-Kairos pellets will be no more. Stoll gets another one, a brilliant shot from the long angle from outside of bathroom here, and Hex another shot, a one tap, a triple kill now for Stoll. Now looking for more even, trying to make their presence felt here, but Pryde find themselves on the back foot. Another kill raining out. Shapai this time, who delivers Crafty to the early grave, and this attack from Pryde is over before it could even begin.
Whoa.
If there's one player who can make it happen, it's probably Dylan. He's been the clutch king so far as we've hammered home from Oregon, but it looks like the plan here is for Dylan to take a seat in the bathroom and for Pryde to hash out their plans for the next defense to come on the forefront. Dylan just got 5 seconds. I mean, maybe he'll get a couple frags to pad his stats. He doesn't really need to, considering how much of a bomb he went on the first map, and we'll see it there. Reign true. FrogChamp. Aggressive? Yes, and it worked. I mean, if you can just count on Stoll to continue to get these shots to hold down the long angles and even get a little bit of flair in there with the one tap, it's going to be a bit of a risky position for the rest of this first half from the Pryde point of view. You're not going to find much luck if you just try to push in, take 1v1 fights consistently with Stoll. That was supposedly the FrogChamp error back on Oregon, but now it looks like it potentially might have switched sides.
Yeah, that was, I mean, you characterized it perfectly, Sticula. Really unsuccessful attack. I mean, I think that's apparent to everyone. But the aggression that Stoll just delivered was just simply incredible stuff. I mean, it wasn't really micro-positioning aggression either. It was simply holding a long angle down towards Coffin, down towards that long desk, and finding 3 kills for the exact same angle. Stoll is going to absolutely goodnight his own teammate. Trix is going to be cut on down. Not sure the reason for that, but Miracle is going to call for the rehost. playoffs. And as we wait on the decision on that, it will be, of course, confirmed. So we are going to get that rehost going and get to see how this is going to play out in just a bit. But before we do that, of course, Dicula, we're just going to have to talk a little bit more about round number 1 and talk a little bit more about what we can expect going into this lobby and press room defense that it seemed is being displayed.
Well, we've got Keg back with us, so he'll be able to chime in on the narrative and maybe shine a little bit more thoughts on what he saw in that first round. But it just looked like a one-sided attack, very vanilla, very just, I mean, you come into the round, it's CEO, you know what to expect, 1 or 2 things. They did number 1, and it didn't work.
Absolutely. We saw a very aggressive attack coming out there, but you guys have to craft the story for me. I am the vector of this knowledge. I want to know exactly what happened, Jay-Z. How did it all go down?
Well, what we really saw there was the admin-sided take that was telegraphed very early on in the round. It was clearly going to be an admin-side take the entire time, but it's appeared that PhrogChamp, they realized what was going on, and they positioned perfectly for that take. They backed off and positioned. They held the long angles towards that admin-sided take, and they shut it down. They shut down the meeting pressure. They shut down the long desk pressure, and at that point, it was brutal. Pryde just could not recover, and PhrogChamp found the round.
Now, what's interesting about this is that we were expecting going into this that Pryde would come out, arms swinging, fists everywhere on both attack and defense and stick. Things that were looking a little shaky in the beginning. Can we expect them to recover going to the next round after the rehost?
Yeah, I don't see any reason why not. I mean, it's just 1 round loss. Even if it was, I think, nearly flawless, there wasn't any deaths on the defensive side. It just seems pretty simple. I mean, it's 1 loss. CEO is locked now, so PhrogChamp can't just go there again. And even if they were to do so, I think Pryde would immediately make the necessary changes. So next you would be looking, I'm assuming by the rules, to go to lobby again. That's probably locked in. And it just feels like maybe there's going to be more of a focus on a dynamic attack. I certainly would hope so. If you just push in through admin, you're going to really face down the defense, and they just get to kind of sit there and know that's exactly where you're coming from. It's 1 area, and so it leaves you again in the position where you have to fight 50-50 gunfights, and that's just kind of it.
Ooh, that sounds kind of scary though between these 2 teams. And I mean, I guess we got to talk about it. We got to talk about lobby now. It's been a very controversial bomb site for as long as I can remember in console. I'm sure you guys can agree. But now that you see PhrogChamp getting that first round win on it, can they bring it back on all sites being lobby too? It's not as bad as it used to be, Jay-Z, but still having such a very horizontal site, can they maintain their lead?
I mean, I would expect nothing less from them. I mean, we saw their top floor hold go down perfectly. And what the lobby and press room site really does well is it showcases another top floor hold. We're going to see the exact same thing again. So you would expect PhrogChamp to pull out a similar strategy. And unless Pryde can have an answer, similar success.
Well, I got an answer for you guys. It's going to be going back to the game. We're going to find out what's going on with lobby now between both of these teams. It's going to be a real adventure here. Oh, never mind. We are resetting the lobby. We're going to be a few more minutes. No, continue about the lobby. Let's hear about it.
Well, what I do want to add is that I think, we don't see those fluke rounds happen all that often. I mean, a flawless round is hard to do well. Usually it means there's been good stuff you did on your side, but also some mistakes happened from the other side as well. So no doubt we saw that occur in round number 1. Pryde are going to have the responsibility now to make those changes, and what we also noticed was the apparent lack of the window simulator that we talked about. There was very little window play. We saw nobody on the upside down connector rappel. We saw no one on the CO rappel. It was simply an admin-sided take, and while it works often very well for some teams that know how to defend the site quite well as well, they can really lock it down, and if you're not going to establish those crossfires with the windows, your attack is going to struggle to find its footing, and that it did.
Stick, would you like to add on to that?
I would. Now that Jay-Z brings it up, I think the windows is something important to look at in the context of what to expect for this next round, but also as a sign of what happened in the first. No pressure on connector allowed the defense to really have as much free roam inside of the island area, sort of the center connector between the top of the yellow stairs, between the double door at CEO. Lesion just sat there the whole round with no worry. It's not like there was some massive obstruction, like a castle barricade locking off the connector door. No, Lesion sat there with his shield, just constantly peered down the long hall, and there was nothing that the attack remotely did to stop it. If we go up there again, I want to see the window simulator. I want to see somebody on the bathroom window, making sure that you can't just sit in there for free. Got to have somebody on the connector window, very important in the recent meta. And maybe, I get it's risky, but maybe put somebody on the CEO windows, because there's just so many important areas that are immediately canceled inside of CEO if somebody's repelling on that window. You do not sit in pretty much anywhere in there, in the office, besides the corner near the hatch.
You're a bold man, Sticula, for suggesting something like CEO window. But one thing I do want to suggest to you guys is that I have a special little surprise for you guys. I've been keeping in my back pocket. We have the talent for Season 5 to be announced now, to see who's actually going to be casting the next season, along with all the teams in the qualifiers. I'm really excited to show you guys. Are you guys ready?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, here it is. Whoa! Holy moly, look at all these beautiful names and these beautiful faces. Look how professional and beautiful we all look. I'm sure we look like this all the time, of course. But we have C-Dabs, Jay-Z Wills, Sticula, myself, Lynx, Crow, Jasmine, Cherish, Blue Panda, and Chief. Again, totally what we always look like. Never ever changes whatsoever. But it is just amazing to be part of this team as well. What do you guys? Oh no, this is what we look like at happy hour. Oh no,
Nice.
this is
I like
happy
that.
hour. Well, C-Dabs and Jay-Z. I mean, you guys are always beautiful, 24/7. I guess.
So. I guess so.
Ooh, wait.
I'm really excited that Cherish has joined us, because I work with Cherish a lot in the past. I mean, if you're talking about ESA, I think he did some work at EPS as well, and so he's finally joined us, and he'll be working alongside us for Season 5, which is great. And of course, we've got all of the usual suspects alongside them as well, and you've got Crow and Lynx, who came in from RSA, and of course CL, and so we've got a great set of pairings, and that's something I'm really looking forward to. And the production for SCS, we all know it's on the up and up.
Absolutely. It is just beautiful. Too bad we don't have one for the production people. There's so many amazing people behind the scenes too that we have to thank almost 24/7 for allowing this to be a possibility there. But we are coming back here to console it. I think it'll be a few more minutes until the game is ready again. But this lobby conversation has just been so interesting, because a site we see time to time, it's definitely not as intriguing as a site like Split, but lobby, through the metas that we've seen over the years, has completely evolved. And Stick, you've been around Siege for such a long time. Can you talk to us about where we are now with this new meta in lobby?
Well, since the most recent patch, it always has felt like lobby is not so much focused on just the utility poor. There's not a whole lot of these key defensive shielded positions that are hampered by the changes made to Jaeger and Wamai, but obviously you have to take control, and as a defender, remain in control of the top floor. And to me, it seems like if you lose control of the top floor, more likely than not, the round is probably over. If you're looking at kind of the recent strategies we've seen develop inside of the Pro League, there's been a big jump up in the amount of times where teams are trying to plant inside a piano, which can be helped a little bit as a defender by going below, as we always see on garage takes. Getting into piano, using your Buck or your Sledge or your Zofia Ash, whoever it is, you're always opening that floor, but there's very rarely conversation about what you can do with that as a defender looking up inside a piano.
All right, this is gonna be a bold question here. I'm gonna ask both of you guys. I'm gonna start with Jay-Z, of course, though, but what can we expect to see from this lobby take then? Are we gonna see the new meta sort of style, or are we gonna see more some top-down roam clear action from inside?
Well, the only thing I really have to go on, I mean, other than the other match we saw, we didn't get to see Consulate, so based on the admin side take in round number 1, that lends itself to another admin side take. Often teams just get that down in their rhythm. You enter through admin every time, top down clear, site pressure from there. So if we see another admin sided take eventually to a meeting take, to a lobby take rather than press room, I would not be surprised whatsoever. I would love to see a piano take because those, like Sticula said, are so new and fun to see. You get the window rappel, you do have vertical pressure, but it's hard to get a good press room take going or piano take going because bathroom B1 is such a factor in that. You have to either clear out those players, deal with those players, or perfectly place your smokes at those rotates to shut it down. I would assume your default lobby take would happen, but I would love to see a piano side take.
One thing I was just looking at over is kind of the statistics between Redux or rather PhrogChamp X Redux and Pryde in what they've played on the piano site. Neither team has really an astronomically high success percentage on the site. I think it's one of PhrogChamp's worst across the whole map, and Pryde have only played it very few times. Not a whole lot of wins in those numbers, so it just doesn't seem like a good site across the board. But hey, maybe coming into the playoffs now, PhrogChamp are going to debut a new strategy, something that they've just been working on and cooking up inside of scrims, and that could be the difference maker here as well for the side of Pryde.
And you got to remember, too, I believe it was Pryde on their defense. We're bringing out crazy defenders like Warden and Frost. Do you think we can see that on Lobby, too? Just something absolutely insane?
Frost is sometimes fun to bring out. You know, it's always fun to see.
Frost is good. I feel like Warden is probably more likely. I should have taken a snapshot of what we saw in the actual lineups. But Warden has just been on the rise. You know, in the past, especially before the utility meta, I probably would have looked at Warden and been like, why are you trolling? You know, why is the Warden being played? But now he's become a whole lot more valuable because you don't constantly count on those flashbangs just being removed. And he's also got a deployable shield, which is so rare these days. Combine that with the MPX, the 1.5 optic. Pretty good all around, but we'll be jumping into the map, so we won't have to hear any more theory, any more discussion, or past histories. We'll get the real full thing.
Yeah, finally we'll get to see this lobby defense that we've talked about for the last 15 minutes. Hopefully our predictions will reign true. Hopefully we'll see this press room take that we've hyped up, but only time will tell. We're gonna have to see this round get underway and how Pryde elects to deal with the absolute dominance that PhrogChamp displayed in round number 1. The flawless round, of course, is intimidating always to respond, especially one round immediately after it, but you also have to consider how much a break like this and a lengthy rehost can really factor in. Both of these teams had either had time to goof off and not focus on the game, or have had 10 minutes to sit down and absolutely walk through every bit of their next attack, because for Pryde, they knew that they'd have to attack this site because it has to be the exact same site before the rehost. They knew what they'd be getting to. They expect maybe they can use some of those assumptions they've got from round number 1, use them to their advantage, go into this attack accordingly. So they could come here extremely prepared, but based on the fact that we're seeing Sam on the Amaru, I think all bets are off.
10 seconds left before
I like the changes here with Sam on Amaru and Oni bringing the Jackal. I just feel like the right amount of spice, and even though maybe somebody will say, you know, the gadgets aren't exactly the most valuable overall, when you're looking at this objective, they can be pretty good. You've got a spawn peek attempt here. Who could have guessed it, coming out of Snoll as he looks through the window. Pryde say, we're not going to spawn over there. We know you spawn peek. We're not going to open ourselves up to such a catalog risk. Instead, another admin take, this time with that additional bit of bite, having Oni up early to look for any potential foots or tracks across the admin and give him a little bit more intel to Sam, who flies in with no wasted time. One player at the top of VSEF, if they're not prepared for this, they might suffer an early death, but the drone goes through before Mouse has time to peek, and as thus forces him back deeper within the brink of the map.
And we are going to see Sam on the Amaru that I mentioned earlier, but really just been using that to get quicker on this top floor and get this top-down clear going immediately. Oni, of course, going to make that easier by removing Stole from play. This time, the Legion will not be able to find a triple kill or any one-taps in round number 2. Now with the Jackal in play as well and the smoke identified, Oni going to be going for a couple of attempts at a wall bang, but nothing will be found quite yet. What will be found, however, is the vertical pressure. The sledge now doing what a sledge does best and Swiss cheesing the entire roof of the site to establish these angles and to clear out some of these hard stuck anchors. One of those will be Trix, holding his position outside of Ante, outside of B1 behind the deployable shield. But now with that position compromised from above, he'll be forced to fall off and wait for his teammates to rotate to support him. Unfortunately, Oni is going to make that impossible as the Maestro will be cut down and Miracle will join him.
The loss of the top floor, a real bad omen for PhrogChamp. You take that and you combine it with the fact that you've lost the Alda, you've lost your smokes to slow things down. There's going to be a really bumpy route back into this round. Shapai has managed to retake control of top yellow, and it didn't look like there was exactly a drone watching, but the air jab detonates, instantly relaying this utility. Shapai will extend an entire magazine trying to hold off Salt, but crouching through the rotate, he will manage the down. But in the meantime, he got Sam shortly before his death. The trade is here as Mouse will get 2, and all of a sudden, this huge man advantage has started to fall away a little bit. Crafty, so close. Can he get the diffuser down? It's only a little bit left, but on the coverage, Dylan from inside Antechamber. Pryde will get it done, and it looks like that 10-minute rehost paid off.
Pryde making it happen and doing so pretty handily, I might add. Of course, it was a 2v1 in the closing moments, but for the most part, a very successful push from Pryde, a decisive lobby take, and they went for the default take that we ended up predicting, sending it into lobby, circle desk, getting that plant down in front of the double door. Using the coverage from Ante, Dylan did a great job of preventing the Jaeger from finding a third kill on the round. It was looking a bit dicey as the Jaeger approached. I did not see Dylan on the coverage, but he came rounding the corner and came delivering Mouse to his grave. But another point of issue there for Pryde was the roam. We saw, I believe that was Shapai on that extension above the Mozzie, who found a couple of kills before going down, and Mouse found a couple of kills as well on that extension. Pryde definitely will have to clean up their act just a little bit, but for the most part, a successful round 2, and now looking towards this third site that we have in play. We've got Cafeteria and Garage, the next site in the cards for PhrogChamp.
Always love a good bit of the Garage. Pryde are going to stick with this, Jackal, and I think that's the right decision. It gives you the perfect opportunity. If PhrogChamp over-aggress, even if they don't expose themselves, really, you still have an opportunity to act on that intel, and, well, let's be honest, PhrogChamp aren't exactly going to bring a Caviera to try and deny that. I don't think Cavi has exactly ever been in the meta. And so that gives immediately Oni the opportunity, if Pryde move along, if PhrogChamp kind of tread territory that will fall quickly to Pryde, immediately they know they've got at least one roaming defender in their sights, and that could be huge. It's really, I think, an unseen advantage. Jackal is that ranked icon. Everybody knows Jackal in rank because he's so good for individual plays. Here we go over towards the Visa window, subject of many engagements thus far this map. Neither damage done to the player on Rappel or Shapai from within. Trix will get droned, though, by Dylan, and so now you know what exactly is happening. The impact tossed, a bit of a distraction as he runs out the door. He's got to worry about Cross, though, as well as Coffin, as the Jackal now takes control of Yellow Stairs. There aren't many places to go, and with PhrogChamp on the run, that's a lot of map control that Pryde can now take.
Struggling to do so, however, as it does appear Shapai is remaining on this top floor, and here comes Stoll. The alibi walks straight up the Visa stairs and sends Sam to the grave. A good read there from PhrogChamp, realizing that everybody was overly focused on those two roamers on the other side of this top floor. They neglected to watch their flank, and they did not allow themselves to capitalize on the over-aggression from PhrogChamp. Again, another swing from Trix will find a kill. Salt's gonna fall to Shapai. Dylan hopes to find the answer, and finally he will. At least one answer has been found, but you still have Trix, you still have Stoll. Both of these players are looking to get aggressive on this roam. Trix is going to take a bit of damage here, quite a bit of damage in fact, down about 5 HP for his troubles, but he will escape, and no one will be any the wiser. Crafty, unfortunately, was unable to capitalize on those finishing blows as the Vigil made his quick escape, but now you cross that 60-second mark, with only 1 minute remaining, it's going to be that 2v4 situation. Dylan is going to have to find that last kill, those last many kills, once again.
Another destitute spot. There's not a lot of time for Pryde to get this one rolling. Perhaps if given a few select frags, for example, if Crafty can beat out Stoll hiding inside Visa. Oh no. The drone might have went just past the alibi hiding crouched in the corner. If so, Crafty might be walking right into the death trap of the MX4 Storm, and Crafty's still well on the drone. No indication he has any idea of Stoll's position. The Strix finds Dylan. The Habana makes the decision. It's time to go, jumping right through. Stoll was waiting for it.
Another good read there from PhrogChamp, but Sticula, this feels so much like Oregon. I said that it would not be a point of comparison as a map, but the heavy roam presence that PhrogChamp are displaying, their willingness to be aggressive when the situation calls for it, that calculated, surgical-like aggression, it's paying off for them. We saw another droning mistake from Pryde, something that happened on numerous occasions on Oregon. But overall, PhrogChamp did a great job capitalizing on each mistake and using that aggression to their advantage. Often we will see teams use that aggression, but will struggle with the proper application of force. PhrogChamp had no such struggle in round number 3. Now Pryde find themselves in the round disadvantage once again, and heading back to this top floor site, the site that last time Pryde elected to go for a full admin side take. They will need, and I mean need, to make some adjustments here. You cannot allow a player like Stoll to be sitting in Hex and to be gunning you down from that long angle. You said it perfectly, Sticula, during the rehost. Put a player on connector and half of your problems are solved.
Even that last round, I think, could have done with a little bit of connector repel, because PhrogChamp just get to stay wherever they want to, it feels like. Oh, Pie trying to get his Nitro off of the ceiling. He does a lot more damage to Mouse than you would have liked, and it's their actual opponents who'll do the second bit of damage. Tagging up Stoll with the MP7. He's looking out the window, and you can tell it just looks like this is PhrogChamp's map, and they know it. They want to peek everything. They don't care that maybe Pryde has got gun advantages and better firepower in certain situations. They're feeling confident, and that can get you a long ways on such a frag-heavy map. If they can shut down, make Pryde effectively down bad, and kind of regress in their communications, I think that could become a major issue. We need to see more consistency and a plan be activated. No repels is not going to get you really far. If you just try to play Consulate like another map, you're going to really be punished. Trix is going for what some would describe as a trick play, hiding prone under the desk. If he gets misdroned, this could provide another one of these serious advantages, which we've seen be so prevalent throughout this map. Stoll is down, but Trix is still waiting. As you can see him bounce up and down, he spots the feet. Here's the shotgun go. He's constantly relaying intel to Mouse, who should be able to act on this, but going on through the trigger discipline, he will be able to get both of them, and so bad timing. It looks like there's 2 in response as Mouse is felled, and Crafty will get another one. Still a good job and a lot of work done by the Vigil.
And Stoll adding another one to the kill list that PhrogChamp are continuing to add to here. You've got Dylan and Crafty are once again the last remaining attackers to pull this out. We said it probably about 100 times on Oregon. Dylan and Crafty, the last players that remain. And once again, even on Consulate, it seems that is coming to fruition once again. Stoll, the long angle that has worked so well for him, it will net another kill. And Dylan, the clutch master himself, the MVP of map 1, is going to be left in a brutal clutch or kick situation against 3 defenders, one of them who is swinging him repeatedly, and finally Stoll will get punished for the tomfoolery that he is bringing out. But now you've got a crossfire. Dylan's going to fully blind himself and have to retreat off the angle. You can tell just by that how flustered the Nomad is in this particular situation. Another flashbang is going to rain on in, but the info is there. PhrogChamp know exactly where Dylan is, and Miracle, after taking down Dylan to about 10 HP just with the Maestro cams alone, will swing out and do the Alda to finish it off.
Bit of a yikes there. Another difficult loss on CEO. It just seems like Pryde have no way that they can overcome this CEO defense. And I wanted to provide a little bit of insight. We saw that the Vigil was sitting prone inside of admin. And of course, the viewers will know that Vigil's gadget works on kind of a range system. Depending on how close you are, the gadget becomes more active. Well, he was sort of betting that the attackers would drone in and would say, okay, he's got the gadget activated. He might be on the floor below, or he might be, in another room. If you take a drone and you go up on the rooftop, you can actually jump up and down and use that proximity to get a clearer idea of how close the Vigil is. And it's a bit of a trick play, but you kind of have to be a little bit more thorough than just saying, well, I hope he's not hiding under a desk somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta cross your fingers and hope that if you're not going to put a drone in his face, of course, the Vigil ability allows you to do that, but another droning mistake. I mean, we talked about it just before the round. How in round number 3, that was such a big problem for Pryde, right? And in round number 4, the exact same problem, it happened again. Pryde are going to need to iron out that drone work. They're going to need to iron out that coordination, because if they don't, PhrogChamp could be well on their way to establishing an overwhelming lead that even on Consulate can be so hard to crawl back from, especially if PhrogChamp, this is their map pick, of course, they're confident on both sides, attack and defense, I am absolutely certain of, and with that pick going in the favor of PhrogChamp, again, stole the aggression, even on the Echo, and Tricks, oh my goodness, another pick, taking down Sam. Pryde are seriously struggling to find their footing.
Struggling to find their footing is a great way to put this, because in some rounds, it looks like Pryde have absolutely no idea what to do. And I think they're trying to achieve like an elevated and advanced understanding of how to play the map before achieving the basics. And what achieving the basics looks like is preparing for runouts. Knowing that PhrogChamp are going to take all of these opportunities, as I've consistently mentioned, they're going to peek a lot of windows, they're going to look out the doors, and they're going to try to figure out where you're pushing from early. Here's a great reaction. Crafty fells Tricks. No more problems with the Vigil inside of admin, but still a lot of time wasted for this to be under the defensive control. Pryde will move in. They've got to make up for lost time here, but they won't be able to take control of the top floor as quickly as they did in the previous round, and as thus, the rest of the round is largely off track.
But they are displaying this admin side take against Sticula, and the problem with this, which there are many benefits, but the problem is that teams do this over and over and over again, this admin side push on every bomb site, and eventually, as PhrogChamp have clearly displayed, the defensive team is going to catch on, and they are going to put players ready in admin to punish you. They're going to deploy utility towards that direction and make it even harder for you to actually execute the take that you want. That's why teams need to vary their approach on attack, and Pryde have not done that yet, and they've been punished for the lack of variety thus far. The roam on this top floor, though, has, for the most part, been cleared on out. We saw Shapai rotate all the way back down to site, and with Tricks, of course, finding the grave, that won't be a factor anymore in round number 5. The vertical pressure, that will be a factor. We are going to have Salt doing the breaching hammer work as always, opening up the ceiling from above, and Miracle is tempting to get aggressive. These are tough fights to take for both of the vertical and the below angles as well, but we are going to see which of these gun skill players is going to prevail. It's going to be Crafty dropping down the hatch, who gets absolutely punished for it by Miracle. A double kill now as he takes down Dylan, and Salt is all that remains. 5 seconds to go. A desperate hatch drop, but absolutely denied by Mouse. PhrogChamp, a clean, decisive round once again.
Not a big round that gives me a lot of confidence, especially with the fact that this was the site that Pryde won. In round number 2, they played it really well, and this time, it just goes completely off track. They end the round, the man disadvantage is there. What do they decide to do? Go for a wanton hatch drop. Just jump in, fly into piano, and PhrogChamp just had the better advantage. They were totally prepared for it, and they just saw, as soon as the feet poke down through the hatch, just use your gun, pull the trigger, get the kills. You've got to stop pushing through admin. To me, what this first half has shown us so far is that Pryde are not very prepared, and their offensive playbook is very short.
I mean, we did kind of predict this, Sticula. I mean, we came into the day seeing Consulate on the board and going, this could be exactly the pick that PhrogChamps needs to run away with it, to really just send a message to Pryde and say, if you're not prepared on this map, we are going to punish you for it, and punish you, well, they're doing a great job of it so far. I mean, we're going into round number 6, a 4-1 lead right now. It is dominant, and it shows no signs of slowing down. The site that Pryde did find attacking success on just a couple of rounds prior, they have not found it in round number 5, and it was a big differential. They really didn't have a chance. I mean, 3 players on the hatch drop, like you said, Sticula, you're never going to find success doing that with 5 seconds to go. And Pryde are going to need to bring it back here if they want to end things now. But of course, it is PhrogChamp who are on the back foot after Oregon, and they are playing for their playoff lives at this point. So a win here would only send us to our decider map, to Cafe, the map that we said was going to be an absolute, slugfest of a map, you could say. We saw these teams go to overtime all the way 11 days ago in their previous matchup, and we very well could see it again. But of course, Consulate is first. We have to see how Pryde can finish. The adaptations have to be there from Pryde. But you said it, Sticula. The strat book is simply not there. The preparedness from Pryde is simply not there. They're going to have to use this tack timeout and seriously regroup, if not develop a strat from scratch.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to pick something up on the fly if you've seen just loss after loss. And I think going back to that same objective, back to lobby and losing it again, is the biggest sign that Pryde's attacks are not working. What they've done is walk right into PhrogChamp, played their game, and it's failed epically in nearly every interpretation. The identity of new Pryde, their new face on this map, is not one that I really want to see again, because their attacks are very simple. I mean, they're just doing the same thing over and over again, and you've got to eventually at some point say, okay, X is going to be the leader, they're going to call the plan, they're going to come up with the strat, something, A, that's different, and B, it's something with some variety. Not going into admin again. I mean, just put it like a cone in admin. Don't go in there. We lose the round when we go in admin, and the round fails as a result. I don't have anything else to say besides you've got to make a change. There's no reason not to.
You're absolutely right. You need to change when you see things not working at all. And Pryde, they've got to do it now. It is far too late for them to find, enough rounds to equalize the scoreline on attack, of course, but it's not too late to change the momentum around. You do not want to let PhrogChamp go into their attack with the overwhelming momentum. If you do so, they'll find success and your Consulate hopes are all but over. But if Pryde can take just one round here, just one more round, then you can't count them out of this fight at all. They can come back on their defensive half. We talked about it on Oregon, how coordination is not always as needed on defense as it is on attack, and it's so hard to find, it seems. The attack coordination, it seems, for Pryde. We are going to see them try to force out some of these roamers early on. You've got Stoll on the Vigil this time, trying to be that ever-present, that persistent force on this roam, and hiding out over here in the Visa side. It does seem like he will go undisturbed, at least for the time being. Mouse is playing this aggressive piano position. He's going to go for the run out, and he's going to find one. The opportunity for a second is there, but Dylan will smartly get off the drone and deny it. But unfortunately, and hugely, that is the off the board.
No bigger loss they could have faced than Crafty going down, because now You don't have any secondary hard breaching gadgets. There's no Hibana, there's no Maverick, nothing else. You're gonna have to push down Yellow, push down Visa, or try to take control of Spiral, which I don't think is entirely likely here. The hatch drop is quick, but the reaction is faster from Dylan as Shapai sounds off onto Sam. The man advantage is the one saving grace that Pryde have in their inventory, but it's a trade immediately by Shapai as he looks up inside a piano, and now that advantage is no more. They understand that the change has to come. Pryde will completely swap the idea coming in from the east to try to go for potentially a cafeteria take, but you're going to have to fight the defenders in their prime spot. Up close and personal, ahead of the Cade. The uniform is there, and he's spotted, but the damage is not enough, and they're still being stalled out with 30 seconds to go. They have to make up their minds. Push now gets some inch of intel to try and inform this decision, because you have to make your move. The move is made. It's a TK from Dylan. He finds the response onto Miracle, but with such low time, you're going to have to change something. Hiding behind the bomb chassis, Dylan decides to plan. It's the Clutch Master himself, the player who was so big on Oregon. The arm is spotted, the pre-fire is there. Shapai will deny it to stop that round dead in its tracks. PhrogChamp 5-1, brutal at the end of the first half.
Well, that round was an interesting one. The Thermite really, though, it ended for Pryde right there. Of course, they were able to crawl back. The man advantage swung in their favor for just the briefest of moments, but a moment that proved fleeting as it was once again up to Dylan. Again, I mean, incredibly so that Dylan is left alone in those clutch situations. It seemed that this time he decided to team kill Oni to make it certain that he would be the last remaining player in that clutch situation. Had the team kill not rained out, maybe that could have gone a different way. Maybe Pryde could have found a nice little cafeteria plant, would be the saving grace for them in that round that looked so dire, but it would not be so. And now moving over to the second half, we're finally going to see Pryde showcase what they can bring on defense on Consulate. We're going to be starting on this basement site, and we're going to have to see how much of this roam are they going to showcase. We saw it all from PhrogChamp. They threw the gamut at Pryde. They said every single roamer possible onto that top floor. Pryde, based on this setup, it does seem that there is going to be quite a bit of that extension. You, of course, have the Mozzie and the Mute. I like to call it the information denial wombo combo. You've got that in play. And this is, of course, the map that SSG first really showcased the SSG style roam, which everyone now assumes is that clubhouse roam. But this is that birthplace of the information denial simulator that was a meta 2 seasons ago, and we're gonna have to see Pryde figure out a way to showcase that, figure out a way to stop PhrogChamp from getting aggressive and from going ahead to take a win here.
Pryde with at least somewhat of a different strategy. They've switched pages, but tricks. Still waiting, the window's wide open, and Salt charging through. He doesn't live to see the light of day. Not exactly where you want to be. The strategy on Consulate can only carry you so far, and with an early death like that, you're not in a great spot. Shapai will rotate. The Ash breaching round is shot out. Likely to clear, I would think, a Mozzie Pest or a Mute Jammer sitting there near the drone hole. If so, it is removed, and now we'll have the hard breaching process. There's still another Mute Jammer, it looks like, in the center of the wall, which is denying 2 of the ex-Kairos, but that's not what's at center focus. It's Stoll who gets himself a kill onto Sam, but Crafty is there in the mid-site to create the response. Is it enough as we progress to the latter half of this round?
Yeah, PhrogChamp find themselves, once again, with the man advantage, something that they are very comfortable with and have proven so far on Consulate. Shrek's going to take a bit of damage, an aggressive run out from the lobby double door, but neither player will end up finding their grave. Miracle now pivoting around to the yellow stairs to establish this crossfire from the breach. And now we'll be swinging around, actually looking straight onto the site itself. You've still got some players lurking above, though. Oni is that exact player, waiting for this presence to be felt. But the push on in from Miracle finds one, Mouse finds another. The hatch play from Oni finds one, but it's not going to be enough. Tricks from the breach will shut it on down. PhrogChamp will take round 7, and now they have their eyes on match point.
I don't think a lot of people really envisioned Consulate being this swift. PhrogChamp have really shown off, and their strategies, there's nothing that Pryde can do to stop it. The opening deaths, something that we talked about exiting Oregon. It was PhrogChamp consistently who could get that opening kill, who were first to the fight and were often very successful. That has shown a large majority of the rounds through. Coming in from the first half and now the second, just somebody on Pryde gets caught out of position and PhrogChamp are better ready with their guns to take the fight. And now, because of the terrible performance on the first half and
Defenders, protect your bombs
pretty
from being
disappointing
defused by
loss
attackers.
on the first half, the first round of the second half rather, you stand at 1-6 with Cafe, that slugfest map on the potential horizon, and take a look there. 5 in a row. It could be a 6th, depending on how this defense plays out.
There's no real other way to put it other than the overwhelming momentum and control it's all in the favor of PhrogChamp here. I think Pryde, they have long since abandoned their hopes at this map. They're gonna try to bring things back by setting up this top floor extension, holding down lobby and piano as long as they can, but they could not attack this site very well, at least twice. They could only manufacture one round. So, you know, you can't expect too much on this defensive half either. For the most part, their setup probably reliant on this bathroom pressure. You're bringing the Echo. He can be that player in this bathroom to delay the plant. But the play we've seen from PhrogChamp so far has been just aggression. Just absolute aggression, absolute just gun skill. The prowess that PhrogChamp are displaying is simply too much for Pryde to handle. On Oregon, it did seem that the gun skill of PhrogChamp was strong, but it didn't seem overwhelmingly dominant. But you combine the gun skill that PhrogChamp are bringing to the table, and you add the fact that Pryde clearly don't really have Consulate under wraps, and you add those things together and you get a 6-1 scoreline, staring down match point. PhrogChamp looking to just finish this one out. Sam gonna make that a bit harder though, taking down Shapai. You've lost your Ash very early on, but of course, PhrogChamp can bring this one back. They're gonna toss the nades in and continue this top-down clear.
Trick's really eager here to get the pressure mounting and the forward effort rolling. Abano will use her X-Kairos. The long angle, better thought from Ani as he delivers a deathly blow now onto Trix. Pryde with a big man advantage, something they haven't always found themselves with, and this could be the start of a potential comeback, depending on how they close this one out. PhrogChamp could almost never carry forward the momentum on Oregon, but it looks like Pryde have done exactly that. With 3 unrespondent kills, Trix, Stoling, Shapai, all dead. It's up to the final 2 attackers, but now just one is its only miracle, showing echoes of what we had in the first half. A flawless round could be the start. If only they can make it happen. Miracle will find the first, but the reload, not a whole lot of bullets in the ARX to find the second. Pryde with round 8 will interrupt the PhrogChamp streak.
Okay, you know what? We saw Pryde get around. They got it on defense, and they're gonna have to continue that. Of course, those big wins, those nearly flawless rounds, I talked about it earlier, can often be a combination of some pretty big errors on the attacking side. There was nothing that really stood out to me more than others on the side of PhrogChamp. We saw them get in a couple of solo gunfights, and this time Pryde, they just won those moments out. Before, it was, you know, PhrogChamp just taking 1v1s and winning them decisively. This time, of course, Pryde, they took 2v1s. They made sure they played off each other. They added some aggression in the mix, and they found themselves a round win. But they're going to have to find 4 more. And not only that, but they're going to have to do so flawlessly. 4 rounds in a row are required. And for Pryde, it looks like they will be starting things off, heading back towards this garage site. We're going to see basement once again, the site that PhrogChamp did find attacking success on the first time around.
I'm really dying to know what the comms are like here from Pryde now that they've finally won a round, something with substance, something with confidence, and have shown PhrogChamp that it's not going to be a complete sweep on this map. If we had an idea into their comms, the emotions are certainly running high in the playoffs and the quarterfinals. Of course, Pryde are looking to book their spot and show the world that with their new roster, they have a lot that they can get done. And this has got to be where it happens. Pryde to make a comeback here and now would be extraordinary, and I think would be looked back on as just one of those signature SCS memories, one that you would not soon forget. Basement was, I think, one of the most impactful rounds, one of the most emotional, where we saw that team kill near the end. It looked like Pryde were ready to pull through, but they just lacked the effort to finally cinch it out towards the end. Maybe we'll see something of that similar caliber here in round number 9.
We are going to see Pryde pull out all the stops we saw displayed there. The Kaid using that Electro Claw from above, hoping that that can reinforce or electrify that garage wall to prevent the Hibana from getting those X-Kairos pellets down as easily as she was able to last time. Mouse, of course, will be taking up the role of the Hibana, and Trix is actually going for a solo push down spiral stairs here, something often punished by the defensive side, but Pryde is not fully aware that the Ash is just waltzing on in and is now attempting a push into the site itself. Of course, with this vertical control completely surrendered or not even contested from Pryde whatsoever, now they will be able to get the vertical pressure going onto the site. Salt is going to feel the brunt of that, as taking about 90 or 80 damage there, all to the chest. And Oni, though, will take down Trix, finally removing the Ash and giving Pryde the momentum once again. The pressure from Stoll above starting to chip away at these defenders, but nothing fatal has been dealt just yet. Oni careful behind the white van, waiting for a vertical pressure to be exposed here. Salt gonna go for the aggressive play, but missing the head of the Hibana just narrowly. Mouse will not miss the second time, however, cutting down Ella and removing Salt from play. Miracle down on this yellow stairs push, but as we near 1 minute to go, PhrogChamp are gonna have to extend this pressure. They've given up on the garage. It seems to be all vertical play coming out from PhrogChamp, and with Stoll finding Crafty, the men advantage will now help that endeavor.
Another set of X-Kairos used here. They're going to try to get open the garage. You want to weaken the site as much as possible, and they've done that with crucial kills onto Crafty, getting rid of the Alda. Now Dylan. It's a 2v4, but flanking in, it's just Sam. Can he make it work? The diffuser not yet going down. Mouse has got it in his hands, and the intel is clearly there from a latent evil eye or some other source. Shots will hit on a Miracle. Looking up towards the hatch, they've got to figure out where these remaining attacker positions is. He rushes around the corner to confirm the kill, but now looks towards Piano, where the remaining attackers are. With the diffuser down, they hold so much leverage. Simply waiting, lying outside the wall. Mouse holds off. Sam will begin the defuse, sticking it. The peak is first here, but he bails off on a potential sound cue. Returning, there's no easy way for him to go outside of the garage, and he's well aware of that as he tries to shoot through. Stoll with a comment. Sam, he's trying to get his best a ninja defuse he has, and now it will go through, but he has to bail off. Shapai from above. Round number 9, PhrogChamp will take their map pick of Consulate.
Well, the garage play worked. You just made enough holes to just get in and out, creep on into the prone hole from the X-Kairos pellets, get the diffuser down, and then sneak your way back out. It worked pretty well there for PhrogChamp, and they took a dominant Consulate victory. Now they've got all the momentum, I'd argue, and going into what could be, well, what it will be our final map of the series, Cafe, the decider. All the momentum lies with PhrogChamp, and they will be looking to continue that, storm ahead on Cafe, and make it an incredible matchup, as I am confident it will be.
No better way to put it. And of course, that momentum after a 7-2, PhrogChamp playing at their peak, and not a really close one there. We've got Keg back with us after that map. I'm sure you really enjoyed it. It wasn't as close as I had hoped for. A lot of the gunfights went PhrogChamp's way.
I think it was definitely not something any one of us were expecting. We thought we were going to see a lot of window action, and when we did see some, it was mostly the defenders who were just able to plow on through, especially on FrogChamp's side. Jay-Z, what happened to Pryde? We were expecting so much aggression, and suddenly it wasn't really there.
Yeah, it seemed that the momentum they carried in from Oregon was not enough to carry them through Consulate against FrogChamp, who just seemed to be just putting on the pressure, just non-stop. Just like they did on the defense of Oregon, they kind of took that mentality, knowing that it worked for the most part. They shifted it over to Consulate on their map pick, on the pick that they were seemingly prepared for. It worked wonders. And for Pryde, the one that they seemingly were not prepared for, well, they just did not have an answer at any single turn.
It seemed like there was an attempted comeback, though, on the second half when we saw maybe a defender-sided game as a whole from Pryde, and suddenly, well, that didn't happen either. FrogChamp got that final attacking win, so we got to see a little bit of aggression from them, but Stick, what was the make or break for them to really separate FrogChamp's victory away from what Pryde was able to bring out in Oregon?
You know, I feel like it's a lot more the defensive success on that roam. Just the way that FrogChamp played it, a lot of times Pryde did not make the proper decision, and that left open a myriad of opportunities for FrogChamp to use to their best ability and to exploit with little response from Pryde. Going into Cafe, that cannot happen, because Villa, or rather Cafe, is a map that's completely defined by understanding your opponent and maximizing your success, your efficiency. There's a lot of times where you've got to completely clear out the map and figure out where all the roamers are. And if you run into these same mistakes, this could be the upset victory and the FrogChamp win that I don't think a lot of people were expecting.
That's right, Jay-Z. What do you have to say about that, too? Cafe, a much different map from what we've seen in Consulate, and a little bit similar to Oregon, too. But it's going to be an interesting matchup, given what we've seen the last two between Pryde and FrogChamp. Do you think it's going to be a close call, as we saw in Oregon, or is it going to be another runaway success for one of these teams?
I think it's going to be a close call. I mean, in their previous matchup, this went the distance. It was an 8-6 victory, of course, for Pryde on this map. But I really do think that FrogChamp's momentum is going to help them out and neutralize the advantage that Pryde had last time. Neither of these teams clearly are messing around anymore. They're clearly just here. They want to book their ticket to the semifinals against Team 99. They are desperate to do so, but they're going to have to do it to each other on Cafe, which is by no means easy to do. And as we see here, our statistics, rolling on up, you really do see the one-sided nature of Consulate, and really that Pryde simply have their work cut out for them on Cafe, because if FrogChamp just bring the exact same play style, it is going to be hard to figure out how Pryde can counter that.
One thing I'd look to see going forwards in Cafe is Stoll again on the alibi pick. I thought that was really cool to see at the very end. Stick,
Yeah.
hello.
Hello.
So we saw Stoll on the alibi in some defensive rounds, and it was just crazy to see those last second clutches. Do you think we're going to see more crafty plays coming out from FrogChamp and Cafe?
You know, I feel like it's important definitely to watch Stoll, just because he's so elusive, and obviously he performed very well on this map. His entry was impeccable, 4-0. That could be something that carries on, but it's all about, I think, the comfortability of FrogChamp on Cafe, because they look like Consulate was home territory against Pryde here, and if that carries over, it might just be a walkover victory for FrogChamp. If they can keep on rolling, they can continue to get that momentum, to have Stoll find the opening kill, and then for the rest of the defense to back him up. Consulate is way more susceptible, I think, to roam closeouts, but that's not exactly what happened on the map. They didn't fully execute that from the Pryde point of view, and if it carries over again to Cafe, I'm a bit worried.
That's right, and with Cafe now being the last map between these two, only one of these teams can move on to Team 99 in the semifinals. I'm going to ask it again, guys. It's not too late to change your predictions. A 7-2 victory in FrogChamp's favor. I'm just saying. I'll give you one free pass.
I'm not going to take you up on it. I'm not going to take you up on it, because I think Pryde showcased it on map 1. They have the ability to pivot and adapt and make it happen when they need to. Well, they need to right now. They have to adapt because they could not adapt on the fly on Consulate, but they've had this break, and now as we lose UMax, they have now had this cafe map under their hands. So it is going to be incredible to witness, to see. Hopefully we're going to see the change from Pryde, because I'd love to see this go down to the wire. If we saw decider map overtime, I mean, Sticula, I would not be disappointed by any means.
No, and as much as I don't want to discredit the PhrogChamp performance back on Consulate, it honestly looked a lot like Pryde were lost on that map and they didn't have the fullest idea of what they needed to do. But on Cafe, that's not exactly the same case. We know how this played out previously. It went to overtime last time, and it could very well do the same as we go into it today for the first of the Season 4 playoff series. I'm really interested to see if Pryde can finally kick it into gear to change the motions, really. I mean, they were just down bad on Consulate. Their defenses were a sorry attempt, and there was almost a comeback attempt. It looked like they might be able to sneak into it here, but we've got the operator bans rolled on through, so we know exactly who will be removed. Not terribly surprised, but the Capitao is the one that definitely sticks out to me.
Yeah, seeing the Capitao ban, not the most common ban, especially on Cafe, but something that, you know, really feeds into this shift in meta. You lose those Wamai pancakes or those Wamai magnets. Why not also lose the ability to bypass those Jaeger ADSs by throwing a firebolt down range? So you get that balance in that sense. You don't have to catch those arrows with the Wamai magnets simply because they're not in play. And so neither of these operators will get to have their at least presence felt here on Cafe, on the map that generally lends itself so much into that utility consumption simulator of last season, and something that we're going to have to see actually get underway here in round number 1, this time on our decider map. It will be PhrogChamp starting on the defense. It's decided by round differential, and the overwhelming and decisive victory delivered on Consulate gave PhrogChamp the decision, and they chose defense.
I'm not terribly surprised by that, considering how Consulate was dominated by a very successful PhrogChamp roam. They knew perfectly what had to happen, and they stalled out Pryde in a very effective way. And to be honest, it wasn't always totally about the stall out. It was simply that Pryde could never progress beyond the areas PhrogChamp held in their roam. And Cafe, I feel like, does offer a little bit more direct access. It's all about whether or not they choose to leverage that, though. Moving forward in the rest of this match, we already know that what PhrogChamp planned to do, because you see in the prep phases as we roll on in, Mute, Mozzie, Vigil, all are being played. You've got that perfect setup to be able to deny, to waste as much time as possible. Asking you, are you confident that Pryde can make the decision to go and fully clear it out, or to bypass it?
That's a fantastic question. I mean, it's hard to know, exactly what their plan is going to be. They bypass that top-down clear. They go for a straight bakery take, and, well, this could be very hit or miss, like a lot of the aggressive plays that both of these teams have brought to the table so much tonight. We are going to see Sam, the first player to challenge on prep here. You've got Dylan droning him in outside of small, but you also have Stoll lurking here on the Jaeger, looking to make their presence felt here, wielding that 416. The oh so powerful weapon, but it's Tricks, the Vigil, across the map there, is going to take down Oni and remove the Ash from play. That is a big early pick, and once again, Pryde find themselves in the man disadvantage situation, something we have said so many times so far this series. But if PhrogChamp continue this aggression, continue their brilliant micro positioning, and continue reading into this attack, they are well on their way to getting that upset victory that they want so badly. Dylan has an answer, at least somewhat, finally removing Tricks, but now a 3v4 is what Pryde is facing.
Kill is brewing. The player's position hiding close in the corner. Understood. Crafty goes for the swing. He sees the arm first and corrects to land the headshot. Miracle down now. Pryde, do they have what's necessary to carry it on through? Across both teams, the health is good for some players and not so good for others. PhrogChamp have really suffered the brunt of it so far, and Crafty is a player who we know can make a play even if he's on low health, but Mouse is setting up to look and make something of his own as he waits just outside of Wedding. Dylan is holding the angle, holding the line, and protecting this potential peek. Gets on the drone. That could be the opportunity for PhrogChamp for Mouse to move up. The Nitro will detonate. It does get Dylan, and he makes his great escape. Now, Pryde undervalued. They don't have much to get this done, and the vertical angle could provide the best support. Crafty will crawl his way, inching slowly and quietly down the hallway. The reaction is better as he gets his gun up, and Stoll will go down. Now it's Shapai ready for it as he looks over towards the bomb, and he'll get the frag. Just Sam still waiting out in the bakery. Is he even here? Trying to hold out and wait for this opportunity to create itself, but 15 seconds, no diffuser in his pocket. It's likely that this round has already decided its fate.
Looks like Sam is just not in a position to do anything. Maybe he exploded, maybe his ping is too high, maybe his monitor turned off. At least the round will go in the hands of PhrogChamp regardless of the issue. So a brilliant defense once again from PhrogChamp. It was characterized by aggression. Once again, we've said it almost every single time that PhrogChamp have found a defensive round in their hands. It's almost always on the back of the aggression. They have brought it out time and time again, and it is paying off big. Pryde, they just can't seem to deal with losing a man early on their attacking side. On defense, things are a little bit different. They've got Dylan, of course, who has proven to be an extremely clutch flex player, holding down the site when it matters in the very last seconds. But on attack, you lose one player early and your momentum is stalled out. Your ability to get those ticks on the checklist completed, to work your way down the list and say, we've got site control. Now we're droning our people in, and now we're going to actually execute on the site. It seems that Pryde really struggle to get that down with only 4 players left on the board, something that they need to correct going forward, because PhrogChamp show no signs of letting off the gas in terms of the aggression. You've got to assume if you're Pryde, you are going to lose players to entry frags all the time, and you need to figure out a way to adopt from that. Maybe we need to see some more dry runs from them in practice, but instead use 4 people instead of 5, because with 4, they just cannot seem to get it done.
It's really surprising because I feel like back on Pryde, there was this element where at any moment, if there was one player left, there was still a chance for Pryde. And we talked about the fact that PhrogChamp often held this huge majority of the man advantage, and the manpower was so strong in their favor. But when it would come down to the execute, especially on their attacks, things would fall apart quickly. I think exiting Oregon and into Consulate and now here on Cafe, that's an error which has been long corrected, and it starts to become a bit of a prevailing issue for Pryde, but in the opposite way. They can't seem to get that man advantage under their thumb, and I'm really worried what that could potentially spell for the future of this map. And coming into it, everybody nearly thought that it was going to be a sound Pryde victory. They were confident on the first map, but through the second and now the decider, things are really taking a difficult turn.
They absolutely are. They absolutely are. And we're going to have to see that change. The pivot that you just mentioned, it's going to have to come through, because Pryde, something is not clicking for them. Whether that's the coordination, whether someone just isn't vibing with the team as much, something is off. And that something has been blatantly apparent in all 3 maps, or at least in the start of Cafe. But even in Oregon, on the map that they did end up taking in overtime, they didn't do it all that cleanly. I mean, you have to realize they struggled in a lot of aspects of their roam clear, of their drone game, of their ability to play together and execute on the site, especially on attack. And so their win on Oregon notwithstanding, this is a problem that they need to solve. They need to figure out a change going forward, because if not, Cafe could look like a lot like Consulate if they can't stall out this aggression, if they can't learn to play even with a man disadvantage and play off each other, play extremely coordinated. Things are not looking good for them. They need to make a change. It is simple as that.
I'm really hoping that as we now closely get into the game, we can kind of have a better idea of if that change is coming or if it's going to be more of a consulate scenario where it's round after round getting just stuffed in the backpack of PhrogChamp without much said from Pryde. That first round, it creates a really big worry, I think, if you're a fan of Pryde, because what did we see? We saw these signature impact plays, these heroic attempts being made by PhrogChamp, and them really reaching a large meter of success. We saw the Nitro come out because the Mozzie was just in the best position of his life. He knew perfectly somebody was on drone sitting inside a small bakery. He tossed it out, and that completely threw off the plan. Not to mention the early success of Tricks taking out Oni, blunting the spear point here for Pryde. I feel like there might be a little bit more of that in this match later. And another dynamic that we saw on console, it was right after the first round. There was this huge rehost that we talked about, and that gave Pryde a lot of time to discuss what went wrong in their opening round on that map. Maybe that's here as well, but you've got to be able to correct things quicker and without the need for attack pause.
In round number 2, we're not going to see the tertiary bomb site in play. We're heading straight to this top floor. It's going to be cocktail and bar, the focus of round number 2, but more so the focus will be this Pryde attack. In round number 1, they did not go for the top-down clear. I'd argue that is a generally good idea, dealing, especially given that they struggle with the roam clear against a team like PhrogChamp with very aggressive micro positioning. But this site doesn't lend itself to aggressive pushes. You pretty much have to do the same thing every time. You open those hatches on the roof, you get your pressure going in piano, you clear out Pixel, and you clear out the bathroom and freezer players. Clearing out Shapai early on, forcing that aggression to be stopped even before it can get started, but oh my goodness, Stole! He goes for the jump out and he finds Salt, the Valkyrie using the knowledge that she gains to absolutely destroy the Maverick and retaliate for the fallen Malusi. A brutal pick. Things are even now 4v4.
I really have no words for what just went on. Salt, it was so good. Finally, they had an opening pick, and you've got to expect it's the PhrogChamp game to go for an aggressive pick early, and if it doesn't work, just be like, okay, let's send another one out. Let's go for it again. Double down, go double or nothing, and they came up with a big success. Taking out Salt, you're going to have a lot more of a struggle getting walls open now. Thankfully, there's only really the opportunity to run a Cade or a Mute here, and the main freezer wall could be opened up, frankly, pretty easy. You just look up from the skylight, you correct the aim, and you can get that Mute Jammer dealt with quickly, but you have to worry about the aim punch, the aim game the PhrogChamp are always playing. Normally in a competitive match, I would say that peeking down through the skylight is it's not so risky, but PhrogChamp have this overwhelming confidence that if they take a gunfight, there's a big likelihood that they're going to win.
And we are going to see them continuing to pepper on that aggression, and their willingness to take gunfights is very apparent here. We are going to see Mouse playing that close angle in the bathroom, tempting a swing or two out on this Whitehall door, and Sam the player to contest that. The first toxic canister will ring out and will prevent these players from getting an early push into Cigar and into that bar plant. You see Miracle playing Shaiko, waiting for this push to inevitably come down. Crafty trying to pressure from above, but it's Sam who will take down the smoke. The toxic babes now removed, a possible plant is even more likely now that those toxic canisters have been dealt with. But with Oni on the ground, the pressure from that Whitehall from B2 is even more aggressive. And now he's going to have to be crafty to pick up the teammate. A dangerous res, given the exposure from that hallway and from Freezer. But no PhrogChamp defender is going to capitalize. Crafty on the swing, now smoking off for this plant. The pre-fires coming in from everywhere. The shots from Mouse will as well. He'll take down Oni. Dylan the response, but Stole will go 1 for 1. Sam has a retaliating blow, and Tricks is all that's left. But it's Sam who sends the Jaeger to the grave, and Pryde will find success. The rehost brought it back for them. The energy is there, and now things are tied up at 1-1.
They pull through towards the end, off the back of Sam, running the Zofia expertly. Can they get this and get moving? Take another round, start to build some momentum, some hype, some hope really, that there's still a chance for them in this match. It's 1-1, which doesn't mean a whole lot without putting it in context. PhrogChamp are coming off the back of Consulate with the knowledge that they're in control, and it's up to Pryde to say no to that, to stop them dead in their tracks, and to answer these over-aggressing plays. We saw them do that early in the first, or just previously, right at the end of the prep phase when there was that spawn peek attempt. But PhrogChamp don't care that they suffer the opening death. There's not that overlord dictator IGL that's saying, oh, you died on the opening pick, now we all have to come back to the objective, otherwise it's going to be a doomsday scenario. No, whoever's leading things on PhrogChamp here says, play how you feel, play how it makes you comfortable, and if it means taking an incredible risk of jumping out, just use some intel, try to get the best chance that you have possible. That's exactly what they did, and it shut down a lot of early hopes in that second round. Luckily, Pryde were able to correct the course, but I'm not so confident that they can do that again.
Well, I love the point you brought up, Sticula, about their mentality going in, the fact that they're playing loose. And this is something that I think PhrogChamp definitely agreed upon going in, because this roster is a little bit disjointed. You've got X Redux in there, you're pulling in some players from elsewhere. Things aren't always going to go your way if you're full stratting, if you're going for no aggression, if you're just playing on the objective and playing really tight. And as Stoll is just showcasing for us right now, that tight style of play is nowhere to be found for PhrogChamp, but it simply doesn't matter. They're finding success with this aggression. They're finding success going for these Hail Mary, all-out plays to either save the round or throw the round. I mean, that is what PhrogChamp appears to be all about. So far, I would argue it's been working for them tremendously. And now they just have to find a balance as Pryde continues to adapt. They have to balance that aggression with some strat heavy, with some patient plays, because finding that very balance will allow them to counter any changes or any big brain positions that Pryde at least decide to elect to take.
Homing in on this ticket window. The Nitro looks like he was preparing to throw it out. Pryde are really showing that they're doing this cautiously, but that won't get you too far, as it's the pre-placed Nitro earlier from below. Stoll will get the assist on that kill, as it's confirmed by the Evil Eye. A rare occurrence, but Miracle will make it work. Now they've got the opening created here, but Pryde in this doomsday scenario, again, lacking early man advantage with Sam dead, and Sam has been one of the key names that we keep on saying because of his effort in the previous round and his capabilities earlier in the game. He was the one who made it happen last time, and without him, we might be in a difficult spot. Assault crouch walks right in. Shapai is found. He's got 3 opponents to fight with, and he won't win a single fight, but now you look towards Pixel, where Mouse is waiting with a close-up shotgun. He was able to get a low HP kill previously, and he might be able to do that again if Pryde failed to cover this. If they aren't properly prepared and they don't have info or some sort of denial to stop him, that perfectly will enable Mouse to make a play.
Well, the plant is soon to come, at least, or that would be the idea, as Crafty is wielding those smoke grenades, but it's Oni who finds Stoll. Miracle coming up with a response, though, playing aggressive here on that door, taking down one, but the swing from Oni, a nice shot there, will net tricks the Grave. A nade will follow it up. Goodbye, Mouse. Miracle is all that remains. A 1v3. He's got more than enough bullets to do it, of course. The Alda, the perfect clutch weapon. Never have to reload. But with the plant going down, Miracle is going to have to come up with exactly that. That's 1 pick on the board. He's going to have to find 2 more. But the swing from Salt will net Miracle the Grave. Pryde will continue their changes. They will continue changing up their strategy and making those adaptations. Round number 3 in their hands.
This is a sight for sore eyes. Pryde, they make the corrections. The course is all back on track, and they get 2 rounds in a row, further showing the progression of their skill here on Cafe. Let's hope that they, for their sake, can get another one. PhrogChamp, 2 rounds down there. We don't see that signature playmaking effort smother Pryde like it did on Consulate. There's frags back and forth, and for a large part, some of that aggression was shut down by Pryde. The player prone over by the piano on stage was killed. They knew that they were there, and maybe Salt didn't fully have that communicated, but they were able to get it in the end and correct it to shut him down. If they can do that, if they can do it again, if they can show that they have consistency and a bit of continuous effort, really, is what we're looking for, I think Pryde have a future in this map. We're on the decider. It's not so clear who exactly is going to prevail. It was Pryde, I believe, who did it last time that they showed up together, and with 2 attacks so far, that's about on course where you want to be going into the latter half of this first split. If PhrogChamp continue to lose out, they have to stare down the fact that they're on attack where they traditionally, on strat-heavy maps, haven't done the best at.
Well, thankfully for them, of course, I would argue that Cafe isn't fully strat-heavy. It's got a good mix. It's one of those flex maps, kind of like Oregon, where you need a good bit of stratting, but at the end of the day, your gunplay is really going to shine. That really comes to effect, especially on this top floor take, because it's so hard for a defense to really strat to set up the site more than your default kind of play. But on this basement site, that's where the real strats come into fruition. You've got so many possibilities for vertical extensions, for even simply horizontal extensions onto the first floor. Often we will see teams go with a heavy VIP presence. You put a smoke behind the shield with a couple of ADSs, and all of a sudden VIP and all of Freezer is impossible to push. But it appears that Pryde won't even bother with a top-down clear, nor will they bother with a garage or Whitehall take. Once again, it's going to be a full big bake pressure coming in from this west side. Only going to take a bit of damage there. The problem with this take is that without vertical control, you allow a player like Trix, who is doing exactly that in this case, to pressure from above. Use the vertical angles to the defensive advantage rather than the other way around. It can make it so hard to actually get on this site and even get a plant down if the vertical presence from the defense is still there.
Looks like they were at least trying to look forward towards it, but Stoll has already made this round well worth his while, with 2 peeking out through kitchen prep. He is punished, taken out, but not without a massive outpouring of damage. Losing Dylan, losing Crafty, another situation where you've got no hard breaching left to create this opening, and because they were hesitant to place that exothermic, there's no hope that they can get this wall open now, and they're going to be forced through the choke points. From their current setup, it looks like we're going to have to come in from kitchen prep or maybe even rotating around to the red hall. The effort is clearly there. Oni will get Miracle, but now they have to still address the fact that the man advantage isn't in their favor. It's still equal. A Nitro is launched out to no success as Trix comes up on the flank. Mouse will find Salt. All of a sudden, it's Sam. He's inside a small bakery. The confirm. Oh, Trix probably not hoping that went how it did, but PhrogChamp still will find the round just because Stoll peaks.
Yeah, the one play, the one aggressive move from the Jaeger, it went initially unpunished, and even if it had, Crafty, the thermite in that case, was just gone. Down for the count. At that point, a full bakery send will almost never be successful. If you can't get the wall open, even in the slightest, it is going to be very challenging to get a direct push going, because if the vertical control is there and those fatal funnels are under close watch from either above or on the site itself, that exactly was in the case of the prep door and the double door, well, there wasn't much that Pryde could do. Even though the man advantage eventually neutralized, it really didn't matter. You can't get the walls open. You have to win these 1v1s, and at this level of play, you're simply not going to be able to go for those Hail Mary plays and win those ones if the defenders are ready for it, if they've got all the utility, all the time, and the patience on their side. There's no reason to expect why any attacking team would prevail in that kind of situation. But things will even out. Things will be 2-2, and it does appear that Cafe is going to be as hotly contested as it was when these two teams last met. We're already tied up. We're going back and forth round after round, and as we head into round number 5, this tertiary bomb site finally rearing its ugly head. Anything could happen at this point.
So PhrogChamp are going to have to play this a little bit more stratted out, because on the tertiary side, as you said, reading and dining, you need to remain in control of the top floor, and there is kind of a time game that you have to look at. If you give that up too early, it gives Pryde the opportunity to dominate you with the vertical play. They have plenty of breaching charges to do so, 9 across Salt, Dylan, and Sam, as well as the further soft breach utility that Salt and Sam hold. And you just can't give it up. I think that's what to watch for here is the timing. It's how quickly Pryde can get it open, can clear out the top floor, and how many frags, how much damage they suffer in trying to do so. A lot of teams are going to play this pretty stock standard, and so that does give you, a bit of leeway as Pryde to understand what to expect when you're coming up against this. But PhrogChamp are taking a little bit of a different route. They're going to use the Goyo Vulcans as well as Castle's Barricades to try to stop this and stall it out for as long as possible. That might not be totally possible. As you can see, the Skylight drop has enabled Salt to immediately contest on a cocktail where Trix is waiting within.
Only one player, like you said. Trix remains on this vertical hold, the player to last hold cocktail, but here comes Shapai, the trigger discipline on full display. He'll find one, but narrowly miss the second kill. Salt and Crafty will capitalize on that mistake, finding Shapai and taking down one more. Trix, though, will answer it back and keep things even now. 3v3, the operator count on the board. An interesting, aggressive play once again from PhrogChamp, but as always, it seems, their aggression is paying off. They're not allowing Pryde to gain the footing that they need to pressure out Trix from this cocktail position. The stuns are going to come in, so will the flashes, but the swing is going to have to follow it. Trix is going to be forced down to rotate away, and he will actually escape with his life. The C4 will not connect fully with SVM, or Sam rather, and Crafty will take down Miracle in the meantime. So Pryde will retain the man advantage and retain the positional advantage, but with the time slowly evaporating from this round, and Trix and Mouse proving quite elusive, at least off this bomb site. Pryde are going to once again need to get an execute going. Finding Trix is going to enable exactly that. Mouse is all that remains. He's staring right at this push, though. They're going to line up for him, but the UMP cannot find the shots. Crafty now going for the plant, and Oni will figure it out, finishing it up for Pryde. They will take round number 5, and for the first time in quite a while, they will have the lead.
Much more back and forth action coming through on this map. Pryde lead, as you say. One more round before the rest of the half is done. Pryde are going to come into this. It's Bar. We know how it played last time. Bar has felt pretty confident, I would say, so far when you're coming at it from the Pryde point of view. Even if there's been a little bit of aggressive play, they've been able to manage that, and more importantly, in their second attempt to come back on this bomb site, they didn't rely on the same person, for Sam, to come up big again, even though he was killed pretty early on in the midst of their take. If you can count on that, Pryde has got a big element of the consistency aiding them. If you know everybody is on the same line, the plan is accordingly, that is huge. And it really makes me harken back to on Oregon when we saw Sam was that opening death on one of the very first rounds. He had been completely shot out, and Pryde made the perfect changes, the best adaptations possible to wrench that round right back around into a victory for them. If that type of energy can come through late in this best of 3, that could overpower PhrogChamp, who have been playing so aggressively. And you know that even though we've got a lot of storied players here on this team, you can only fight for so long. After the momentum boost from Consulate has started to wear off, you're eventually going to recognize that this is the final map of play, and so that means do or die.
But PhrogChamp, they still have played so well so far. Going into round number 6, they keep getting these reinforcements that, not specifically reinforcements, but more mental reinforcements, that their aggressive style is paying off. They're finding so many kills with it, so many really momentum-shattering kills for Pryde that are really stalling out their attacks. Of course, in round number 5, Pryde really came together and they found a way to bring it back despite some aggression from PhrogChamp. Had maybe the Goya, who rotated up the red stairs, found both kills rather than one, it would have all been over for them. But the way that it played out, Pryde overall did a lot better of a job coming back from a tough situation and making do even though they lost 2 of those big players, big utility, lost early, they overcame that, and they still managed to win the round, something that Pryde have struggled to do, so they're going to have to continue to do exactly that. But PhrogChamp, they're not going to ease off the gas just yet. They've got Shapai holding this pillar angle, a long angle towards mining, but it appears that Oni will actually or narrowly skirt it around. That's not Oni, that's Salt, the Ash, who narrowly avoided the crosshair of the Melusi. Now Shapai is known, and here comes Salt, perfectly calculated roam clear there, forcing Shapai to go away in that direction. Salt capitalized, PhrogChamp back foot.
It's a perfect way to talk about it, and that's a huge change for Salt, not even letting tiny bit of an opportunity be created. Here comes an aggressive play. He tries to swing the door, and Salt is still ready to counter it, not leaving anything up to chance. Salt is paving the way for his team to exit the half in a big advantage. Miracle ready with the ult that he wants to use. The full 81 bullets that this machine gun rips through onto the offense with. As he looks over, free fire back and forth. PhrogChamp need to get an advantage here, but the time is still a concern because it is so low. You're not going to be able to get this Electroclaw off the wall, so the decision from Dylan has to come through. Are they going to create an opening, or are they going to try to go about this in a different way? Salt is finally felled here from Stoll, so it's a 4v3, still Pryde with the advantage, but you've got to face off against the Alda, which is no simple task.
Stoll now under siege here by a Maverick. Is gonna attempt to see fourth throw, just gonna peek it instead. Finds 1, finds 2. A triple kill for Stoll and a huge pick. But here comes the freezer push. Oni on the move is gonna find 1, taking down Stoll. But Mouse is gonna get taken down as well. Oni finds a double, but Miracles that remains, and he's got the Alda. 5 seconds to work with is all that Crafty has. The swing back and forth, the ring around the Rosie of death. Death for Miracle. Pryde emerge from the half victorious. They will take round 6, Crafty making it happen in the closing moments.
Pryde so clearly evident. They're reeling this one through. The emotions were high on Consulate. Now they finally got that temper underway. You cannot underscore the importance of Salt's play in the early stages of that round. With the crazy chaos we saw towards the end from I believe it was Stoll peeking through the Maverick holes, without Salt collecting those 2 early opening kills, that play from the Kaid might have been what ended the round in its tracks, but still from Salt to take out the early roam presence, to deny the Jaeger his aggressive swing, gave a huge amount of leverage, and eventually ends up with Crafty pulling his weight and pushing his team over the line to get them into that advantage. I think Pryde finally recovered from some of the errors, showing a lot of development as a team, and in this best of 3, that's exactly what you need. If you want to book your ticket to play in the semifinals, it's the effort here in the quarters that really matters to getting you there.
Well, we've talked about the adaptation pretty much ad nauseum all night long, and there's no surprise for that, because making those changes, the ability to pivot on the fly, is by no means an easy task. That is why we're highlighting it so much. That is why it's so apparent in these big name teams all the way in Pro League who have, the overwhelming, it seems like, inability to lose a round. It's because their adaptability. It's what separates the good teams from the better teams, from the best teams. And on this decider map, we are seeing Pryde make some changes, some necessary changes that we highlighted going into it, and it has worked for them so far. They've got a 2-round advantage, something that they have not had their sights on since map number 1. Now they shift to the defense. Now they can use that momentum going in and continue to apply the pressure to PhrogChamp and shut down this attack as best they can. But PhrogChamp, in the same vein, they have got aggression in their veins. They have gotten eagerness to take gunfights that has worked for them so consistently in this matchup. All they have to do, continue that aggression, force Pryde onto the back foot, because Pryde struggle being there. Capitalize on that, and you will take this series.
Oni will drop down. It seems he's finally recognized it's time to give up this hold, but Dylan does not say the same thing. In fact, the very opposite. With a mute jammer, he doesn't have to worry about the potential for a massive, overwhelming drone presence, and he's got ADSs there on the wall to protect him. It's all about the timing to come in here from PhrogChamp. If they can get a nade, if they can get some flashbangs in, they could be able to clear out Dylan and further progress their assault on the objective. You'll see him now fall back as control of Cigar Shop has been capitulated and conceded now to the offense's favor. But here comes Oni with a huge opening kill to shut down Stoll, one of the confident playmakers and the top fragger here for PhrogChamp. No better frag that you could have asked for, but a big one in response as Miracle will shut down Dylan. Hatch pressure starting to mount a little bit, and Pryde are forced back to play deeper within the bounds of the objective. Salt is tagged up now as openings in the walls have been created by the hard breaching utility, but still Pryde are showing an eagerness to continue peaking, much the character of PhrogChamp as they've shown earlier in the game. Tricks will get crafty though as the man advantage is swung by 2. PhrogChamp in control, but can they progress further? That's the question, as Sam will gun down Tricks. It looks to be Oni again, still to remain control. He's got Pixel. Maybe now he'll give it up, though, as he recognizes that the round is starting to get towards the end.
Well, Pryde are periodically falling off these angles, playing this a bit smarter than we've seen in the past, and now they have the ability to retake this site. Salt's gonna do that, removing Shapai. The pressure from Mouse is actually spotted out, and Sam is gonna find the shots onto the Maverick. Mouse very low HP now, Oni gonna finish it off. It's all up to Miracle, but Sam shuts it right on down. Pryde continue the momentum. Round number 7, they will take it as well.
Really a big resurgence coming in there, and that was a phenomenal defense. Understanding exactly which areas needed to be held off, for how long to do so, and figuring out really the right time to fall back. I didn't see anyone really from Pryde that sat in a position that they should have been in for a little bit less time. They knew when it was time to fall back, when the pressure was mounting, when it looked like finally PhrogChamp were about to overcome the obstacles that some of Pryde's utility and gunpowder were providing. They gave it up. They didn't risk staying too long, which is a great thing to see from them, considering some of the timing on their team and the decision-making hasn't been the best in the last few maps. A rare 6-pick here from Dylan. He will pick up the Frost, which I don't think we've seen Frost since back on Oregon when there was that small tower hold where they utilized the mats as well as the Warden with his goggles to remain in control of small tower. It didn't really work there, I have to be honest. I like the idea of the strategy, but maybe it's just the site construction elements that Frost can provide, along with a steady gun for long-range fights, and trying to expose and exploit PhrogChamp's sometimes wanton ability to move too fast without fully clearing everything. It's been a huge success in some rounds for PhrogChamp when they just completely disobey the order, the progression of things, and run in quickly to change the tempo. But against a Frost, that's not exactly a mistake that's going to give you a whole lot of leverage.
Well, heading back down to Kitchen, the leverage now appears to be gearing itself at least towards this garage side hold that Sam will be spearheading, at least holding that shield in VIP. Here's the danger of that, though, there's very little support from those Jaeger ADSs, so that position may not be as strong as possible. But it does appear, for the first time on Cafe, we are actually going to see a traditional top-down clear from PhrogChamp here. On their attacks, Pryde went straight for the bakery pressure. They did not go for your typical methodical map control approach, and seeing PhrogChamp do that is honestly a little bit surprising, given that the more methodical takes have generally come out from Pryde, and the aggression has usually been more characteristic of PhrogChamp. But regardless, with already control of that top floor, Tricks will be doing what, I guess, the next step in this attack, opening up the floor above, the ceiling above the site, forcing those anchors to move around. But thankfully for them, they've got multiple rotate holes, multiple avenues to rotate away. Shots exchange, and Salt's gonna find the metal bar rather than the head of Tricks. Tricks gonna get very much the better in that gunfight here. But like I was saying, to rotate around on site, you've got a bakery rotate. You've got to rotate over a whiskey bar. You've got quite a bit of possibility to play off of the site itself. So the vertical control is not going to be everything from PhrogChamp here. They're going to have to extend that into horizontal control. They're going to have to take from some other side of this. It appears that Crafty, the first player to contest the push from Miracle, is going to get punished for that over-aggressive swing. And now control of this east side is slowly being obtained. Salt finally prevailing in those vertical gunplay, taking down Tricks. Dylan will take down Miracle, and ill-advised jump in through the coat window. Now Pryde, once again, they've got the man advantage.
Not for long, though. Mouse is at the ready to find Oni. The Frost Trap is still there waiting, and they've got the diffuser to back this up. Mouse shows his cards in a very risky way. Without frag grenades, he cannot clear the Banshee that currently obstructs his path. We'll see the jump in here from Stoll. The response from Mouse as he whips out the SMG-11. Not even the Malusian or Banshee will stop his progress now as he closes in. Still, the diffuser, the yellow ping, they know exactly where it is, and there's a Frost Trap to back them up. So even if Mouse jumps in and gets aggressive, he's still gonna have to fight that, and Dylan wins it again. They know the diffuser, it's not going anywhere. It's sitting here, he jumps through, but it's the frost mat that grips his leg. A grisly end for Shapai. The match point has been taken.
The absolute 2000 IQ play. It came in clutch. The 1v1 gunfight, the ace may have won it, but then he met his grisly end, like you said, Sticula, a bear trap just gobbling up the poor man. Pryde, coming out of seemingly nowhere, they have put on the gas, 6-2. The lead they have taken, looking now at match point. It is all backwards from Consulate. PhrogChamp, they are struggling to find these rounds, and now 4 rounds in a row is what is required of this now attacking team if they want to bring this fight all the way to overtime. But Pryde, seems that they have something to say about that, and it seems that they have just come out of nowhere with this momentum, this aggression, and the confidence that was so lacking from their Consulate presence.
I kind of wanted to talk about the momentum that we've seen so far, because on Consulate, man, Pryde were lost. In this game, I wouldn't say the same about PhrogChamp. You know, they had some early successes on that first half. They were keeping the game close, and they were fighting on through. And of course, our wonderful producer, Ferme, we've got the round count up on your screen so you can see the progression that has happened so far. 4 in a row. Pryde are just completely pushing their advantage as far as it will go, and now we sit on match point for the final map. If you remember, we talked about this in the run-up to the game. Last time Pryde and PhrogChamp played, it was Cafe Dostoevsky, one of the 2 maps that they used during the regular season. That one went all the way to overtime. This one, not exactly close.
Well, PhrogChamp are hoping to make it so. They're hoping to take this one and make it a close battle, one that I know we all want to see here. Going to overtime would be tremendous, but Oni is going to make that even harder. Mouse will be no more. The sledge out of this fight. That is a big operator to lose so early on, especially on a bomb site that lends itself to heavy vertical play. Of course, you've got Ash and you've got Sophia to do that, but with a C4 raining from below and with Salt finishing it off, the vertical play is going to be even harder to establish. It's all going wrong for PhrogChamp in these closing moments. Shapai hoping to answer back, pressuring on this long white hall here, but there are 2 players playing patient and passive. Pryde have their eyes on the victory with a Miracle in the grave. Pryde are steamrolling ahead, looking to take match point.
It's all up to the remaining players from Pryde, all 5 alive and up to push them over the line, and the confidence is well evident in the remaining defenders. They are just ready for it. Shapai seems confused. To miss Selma, he tosses it into the middle of the floor. Salt tries to go for a second pistol shot and is punished as a result. If it were any time for PhrogChamp to come alive with the frags, it's got to be now, but dropping down, Oni gets his teammate the coverage in order to stay alive, hiding in the dark corner. Shapai, it's just him left. The pre-fire is there. A lot of damage taken, more than he should have in that fight against Crafty. Pryde, 3v1. The man advantage is theirs, and the diffuser far out of the hands of Shapai, who will need to recover it and run back to the objective with 43 seconds remaining. It's a big and tall task, as Shapai has taken more of a bit of damage fighting the White Stairs presence. This could be the end of the quarterfinal. One missed shot, but it's not the second, as Dylan will finish it out and Pryde win the day. It's a 2-1 victory.
Pryde bringing it back on Cafe in a tremendous fashion. They stormed ahead, they took the lead, and they never looked back. We were sitting at 2-2. It was going to come down to the wire. We were certain it was going to be so close. And then Pryde, they said, you know what? Let's win this right here. Let's not let PhrogChamp get a single round. Let's send it off to the victory. They did it. They took the dub in our decider map, and they have got their work cut out for them next week. But our focus remains here on today. Of course, congratulations to this team, because a job well done. They made some very important adaptations. They made it happen, something that was required of them. They delivered, and now to the semifinals.
That's the next destination on our horizon. For those of you wondering, Pryde's next opponent, Team 99, not exactly the weakest opponent to face. Team 99 have had a lot of success throughout the regular season in showing that they booked one of the 2 advanced semifinal spots, and we've got Keg back with us to discuss that victory. I was really worried on Consulate because Pryde were slowing down and they weren't playing how they exactly felt, and my prediction rating was in jeopardy, but they focused up and the team fired on all cylinders to secure the decider map.
And the punishment came out in maps 1 and in map number 3. It wasn't as close as we thought it would be, Jay-Z. I think we're gonna have to get your money back here. Come on, pay up. But no, anyways, we saw a very huge, almost a steamroll between both teams on Consulate and Cafe. But my big question is, and Steck, I'll start with you, is what was the big difference between both the teams that were able to really steamroll their way into the 7-2 scoreline?
I just feel like on the last map, the strat book was failing Pryde, and as a result, they weren't ever able to leverage that, because I'm going to be honest, from just a 2-team standpoint, PhrogChamp have the more individually talented aimers. That's where they come out on top. PhrogChamp can take 50-50 fights, and they're pretty likely to beat you. But Oregon was mostly decided by that slow, coordinated play. There were a few highlights, a couple flicks, spawn peek attempts, mostly from PhrogChamp, but that wasn't ever present on Consulate, which led to a major defeat for Pryde. But coming into the decider map, Cafe, familiar territory, likely one of the big maps that they've scrimmed with this new core team, and Pryde were able to find a lot of success as a result. PhrogChamp, they started to get a few things here or there. There were a couple of these, Hail Mary, huge, very successful plays in the first half. But once we got off and there was the 4-2 advantage split for Pryde, from there on, the game was theirs and they really proved it.
One thing I noticed too was that we didn't really see a lot of crazy operator lineups on Cafe from either side at all. Jay-Z, what's going on with that? Why did everyone play such vanilla operators, or more in line with the meta?
Well, I think that these teams just played a lot more into the meta. They played a lot more into the strats that they had developed ahead of time. Of course, on Consulate, it's no surprise to see those crazy picks, given how interesting of a map it is, how the map can be a standout one and that teams don't have as developed of strats for it. But Cafe is one of those T3 staples. It's a siege staple overall. It's always going to be that decider map. You've got to come prepared. Both of these teams clearly did. That's why we saw your default operator picks. They did pull out the Frost though, and that did prove quite clutch in a particular situation on that first floor bomb site. But Keg, overall, you're absolutely right. More vanilla operators, and that feeds into the Pryde strategy. It's what they excel with the most. You just play into the meta, you work off a strat book. That is where a more coordinated team like Pryde excels.
I'm glad you mentioned the Frost pick too. It's right now, we think Frost is kind of like this operator that's a little niche, but she's slowly making her way in. Do we expect to see more of her going forwards in the meta?
An interesting question, and one that I think is going to be examined a little bit, especially after the EUL finals and how some of the teams really displayed Frost as a viable operator. So maybe she'll be creeping into the meta, but it's always hard because you have to look at the opportunity cost. You have to look at what you're losing when you do bring that Frost eventually, and sometimes you can be losing a lot of utility. A mute jammer or toxic canisters or a bear trap. I mean, it's not a big decision you have to usually make.
So we are going to be seeing a little bit more Frost, it sounds like, but Stick. Speaking of those defenders, though, what happened to PhrogChamp on their defense? They were renowned for it in the first 2 maps, and suddenly it was almost nowhere to be seen on Cafe.
Well, somewhere around kind of the round 5, round 6 point, I was talking about how Pryde had started to kind of dial into the understanding that PhrogChamp are going to peak. They're going to make the decision to play very loosely, and that's something that Jay-Z and I went back and forth on, talking about how there was the decision on PhrogChamp ostensibly for them to play how they decided to, how they felt comfortable in, and because of what I would almost describe as kind of the pickup nature of PhrogChamp, they want to play how everybody is comfortable with because they don't have enough time, enough effort, practices, or scrims to be able to develop solid roles and a solid identity for their team. And as a result, they come into each game with an understanding that the players individually will make a decision on how they're going to play. They're going to try to peek you. They're going to try to get aggressive. They're going to try to find that opening kill because they don't have the opportunity to utilize their defensive setups to stall things out so much, and they can't lean back on that utility with the idea that it's going to waste a lot of the time.
Yeah, you're completely right. Very aptly well said, Stick. And Jay-Z, it has been great having you guys on so far. We're going to be seeing Team Pryde go all the way to face Team 99 now in the semifinals, but that's not going to be it for SCS tonight at all whatsoever in the quarterfinals. We're going to be taking a very small break, though. We'll be back in a little bit with more amazing SCS action.